Chapter-601-official visit. My son. Senju Senrao's voice was hoarse like metal friction, in a low voice, with endless pain. Where's his mother? You killed her with your own hands when you were crazy, did you forget? Danzo's voice was full of blood. She thought she could appease you, ridiculous woman. Danzo smiled a little smugly. He even admired himself a little. The plan was perfect. Danzo knew very well that although he could kill Senju Senluo at any time, as Senluo's condition became more and more serious, his fear of death became less and less, so he made another arrangement and gave Senju Senluo as a woman, the female ninja from the roots, who is ignorant of everything, and Senju Senluo, who is crazy, doesn't seem to have much interest in her, but he can't stop the fate of falling in love over time and attracting opposite sexes. A year ago, that female ninja gave Senju Senra a son, a very healthy baby. Half a year ago, the crazy Senju Senro killed the ninja who gave birth to him with his own hands. Now, that child is Senju's only concern. I want to see him. Senju Senluo said. Danzo raised his hand behind him. In the dark passage behind him, a female ninja wearing a ninja costume with a face and a mask came out with a baby who was just 1 year old in his arms. The baby seemed to be asleep, breathing evenly, and subconsciously sucking his thumb. Senju Senro can feel that this is his own child, his own blood. He glanced at it from a distance, then withdrew his gaze. I'll get the job done, I'll kill him, hope you keep your promise. 35 years of Konoha, April 18. Han Guang, the captain of Konoha Anbu, led a delegation of 16 senior ninjas to leave Konoha village and officially visit Kumogakure village, the land of thunder. When it was light, he quietly left Konoha. In the morning, the northern part of the country of fire. In the vast forest, the trees cover the sky and the sun, and the huge canopy is connected into one piece, covering the sun, and the forest is dark. Call. A black-robed figure with an icy aura appeared out of thin air on the bluestone in the forest. Looking around, more than 10 figures appeared around the black-robed figure, either appearing out of thin air or jumping from a tree. One of the sturdy young ninjas with a sickle on his back also appeared above the bluestone, standing beside the black-robed figure. Teacher. Hataki Taishuo whispered. His weapon at this time is the Kurigakure blade, which Lu Han gave him 2 years ago. He seems to be more talented in the use of sickles than short swords, according to the strength level determined by Lu Han. The standard, at this time his strength, has stepped into the cage level. Lu Han looked around. He was not sure whether White Zetsu was nearby, because if White Zetsu was hidden underground, the insight map could not detect it. It's all right, let's go. Lu Han didn't find White Zetsu and continued on his way. He has a good habit of using the insight map. As long as he is in the wild, he will open the insight map every few seconds, but this is not very useful to White Zetsu. If White Zetsu is tracking, he can hide all the time. In the ground, he moved with the help of groundwater flow, grass roots and other organic matter, and he should return to the ground to observe from time to time. This is the reason why Lu Han stopped to observe. Not long after Lu Han took the people away. In the grass next to the bluestone, 2 large leaves spread out, and the white body stretched out, staring at the direction where Lu Han and others were leaving. For 3 years, after careful calculations, he concluded that the perception range of cold light was a radius of 5 kilometers, while now, Han Guang and others are already 5 kilometers away. With so many people, it seems that we can't make a sneak attack. We can only do it when we meet. White Zetsu thought. Call. Shadow of blood descended into the sky, as fast as lightning, like a ghost, and fell behind White Zetsu. The cold aura immediately enveloped White Zetsu. Under the fat kabuto hat, his pale face was close to White Zetsu's ear, hoarse like metal friction. Then the voice sounded. Are you following him? White Zetsu was horrified. She shrunk down sharply and disappeared into the bushes. Senluo was suspended half a meter above the ground. Yuhi, the binocular orangutan, had a morbid smile on his face. Come out, I know you are still here. Senluo said. Dozens of meters away, White Zetsu leaned out of the tree and looked at Senju Senluo vigilantly. He saw Senju Senluo's Sharingan, and he knew the pair of Sharingan. During the First Ninja War, a ninja named Uchiha Kagami once owned this pair of Mangekyo. "Are you following Han Guang?" Senju Senluo asked again. White Zetsu didn't answer, and withdrew into the tree. This time he really walked away, escaping far away. "It's boring," Senju murmured, then turned into a bloody lightning that flew high into the sky. After half a day. Night. The northern part of the Fire Nation, near the Little Leaf Forest, by the lake. The bonfire was burning extremely vigorously, and the smoke was billowing into the sky. It stands to reason that the traces should be hidden during the war, but for the visiting embassy led by Lu Han, there is no need to do so. In the country of fire, nothing will make them fear, there is no need to hide. Might Dai dragged a long wood with a thick bowl mouth, and on the wood was a whole wild boar. He slowly turned the long wood and roasted the wild boar on the fire. The others were also holding food in their hands. Compared to Dai's food, they are all small and pitiful. "Dai, have you finished eating? Would you like me to eat some for you?" Hatake Taishuo laughed. He was Lu Han's disciple, and Might Dai was Lu Han's entourage. "Not good." Might Dai gave Hatake Taishuo a very vigilant look, and sat away for a while, as if to guard against thieves. "Taijutsu ninjas eat a lot." Lu Han was biting the grilled fish and seemed a little absent-minded. In this visit, the two strongest ninjas who accompanied him were Hatake Taishuo and Might Dai. Both of them have cage-level strength. Might Dai has the ability to explode in a short period of time. Even surpassing Hatake Taishuo, it still made Lu Han feel uneasy. From Konoha, the stronger the bad feeling. Yuhi's spot finally appeared on the insight map. It's White Zetsu. "You guys stay here, don't leave, I'll come when I go." Lu Han put down the grilled fish and disappeared immediately. Chapter 0602 Yuhi named Senluo. Why? Hatake Taishuo wanted to ask what happened, but Lu Han had already left. He and Might Dai looked at each other. Might Dai immediately said, "Watch out." Several of the entourage were from Anbu, and when they heard Might Dai's words, they dispersed and set up guards around. Might Dai also got up, tore the pig's leg from the roasted wild boar, bit it and walked to the lake, looking around. "Look around. What do you feel?" Hatake Taishuo asked as he walked over to Might Dai. Might Dai shook his head and paused. "Captain must have found something." A few kilometers to the south, in the dark forest, Lu Han appeared out of thin air. White Zetsu then appeared in the bushes, his eyes gleaming slightly under the night. "Tomorrow afternoon, in the end of the valley." White Zetsu said quickly, "You can only go there alone. If other people go with you, Madara-sama won't see you, so don't play tricks." Regarding Han Guang's meeting with Uchiha Madara, he expressed very cautious. "I should have said this. Don't play tricks, it's not good for anyone." Lu Han glanced at White Zetsu. "Tell Uchiha Madara my warning." Humph. White Zetsu snorted coldly and disappeared into the grass. This is White Zetsu's body, not a clone. After White Zetsu left, Lu Han also began to return to the lake, but stopped after he moved less than a kilometer. Another Yuhi point appeared on the insight map, the Big Yuhi Point. The Chaotic Death Seeker Level 60 White Silver Boss Senju Senluo. Senluo, how could that be? Lu Han's face was shocked. He wasn't shocked by Senju's strength, but he didn't understand why he became Yuhi. The silver plate hung high in the sky. Before the moonlight, the figure of the blood-robed robe was suspended in the sky. Although it was far away, Lu Han could still see it clearly. Call. Bloody Yuhi-colored lightning galloped, extremely blurry in the night, as if in a breath. Senju Senluo appeared in front of Lu Han, still in a suspended posture, with his feet half a meter from the ground, hunched over, bowed his head and used the orangutan Yuhi. His eyes stared at Lu Han. The two are very close. Lu Han's hand was already on the hilt of the knife, but he didn't do anything. This was the first time he hesitated and didn't do anything to the Big Yuhi name who showed his level. Senju Senluo didn't do anything either. What happened? Lu Han asked in a deep voice. Danzo asked me to kill you. My son is in his hands. I only have 1 month left to live. Senju Senluo seems to have never been so awake. He put a lot of pressure on Lu Han. You know, Senju Senluo, his strength is higher than his own level. This guy has an abnormal brain and a problem with his combat strategy, so his rating is always low. He has 1 month left to live. This shows that this battle will be his last battle. He can work hard. In fact, he came with the idea of perishing together. It's not that the green name cannot be changed, it's just extremely difficult. It was like, if Tsunade gave birth to a child to Lu Han, and Lu Han strangled the child in front of Tsunade, Tsunade would definitely change from the green name to the Yuhi name. You actually have a son. Lu Han is very calm, his thoughts are racing, he is not afraid of Senju Senluo, but does not want to hurt him. This is a poor man, you should understand how chaotic your body is, the conflict between the two forces. Do you think you can have offspring? That's my son. I affirm me, that's my bloodline. So, in order for him to live, you came to kill me. Yes, I can only do this. I hope you don't blame me, you are my only friend. Are you confident to kill me? No, but I'll try my best. You believe in Danzo. Don't believe it, but this is my only chance and I can only do it. Senju Senluo has been killed. This is a crazy guy. He still regards Lu Han as his only friend, but his son is more important than a friend, so he wants to kill Lu Han. Actually, I also believe in Danzo. Lu Han narrowed his eyes and said, I believe that he will not kill that child. On the contrary, he will nurture that child well. He is your bloodline and must have inherited something from you. Danzo will definitely study him, test him, he will be the next you. Do you want him to be like this? Do you want him to suffer as much as you? You want him to live worse than a dog? Senluo's eyes struggled and his body was shaking. He was already desperate, and he was no longer afraid of death. If Danzo didn't threaten him with a child, he would rather be killed by Danzo than kill Lu Han. Can you save him? Senluo said, his tone even pleading. No, I can't promise you, because I don't know if that child is really still alive. Lu Han said. He saw the disappointment in Senluo's eyes, and immediately said, but I can save you. You don't have to die. What did you say? Senluo looked at Lu Han excitedly, and grabbed Lu Han's shoulders with both hands. This was very dangerous. Lu Han almost pulled out the knife, but seeing Senluo's emotions, he knew that he think too much. Senju Senluo is a very pure person with a very simple mind. He thinks Lu Han is a friend. He wants to kill Lu Han, but he doesn't think that Lu Han will attack him. You don't have to die. Lu Han repeated, I can save you. To be precise, I can find someone to save you. The problem with you is nothing more than the irreconcilable forces of yin and yang, and the conflict is getting more and more intense. You need to find someone who can control the yin and yang, and you can live. Quote. Is there such a person? Senju Senro asked, trembling all over, is there really? Yes, he may be the only person in the world who can control the yin and yang. Although he is very old, the old is dying, but he still has the power to reconcile the problems in you, and the yin and yang escape, blend into the real yin-yang escape. Not only that, you are controlled by Danzo's forbidden technique. Danzo can kill you at any time, but as long as you have the power of yin-yang escape, you can crack the control. As long as you are free, you can go and save your son yourself. Who? The person who can save me, who is he? He, a man who should have died, perhaps you've heard of him, Uchiha Madara. Chapter 0603_Trust. Senju Senra naturally knows Uchiha Madara. He was in the first ninja war. When he was a teenager, he was used for experiments and became a crazy monster. And before that, he was free. He belonged to the Senju clan, the genius ninja. Uchiha Madara was only a few years old when he led Kyubi, Nine Tails, to attack Konoha and had seen Uchiha Madara with his own eyes. Of course, he also knew that Uchiha Madara was dead. Isn't he dead? Is he still alive? Is he still alive? Senju Senluo was a little mad with excitement. He was already desperate. He was going to die. No one could protect his son. Killing Han Guang was the only chance to save his son, so he came to kill Han Guang, but he didn't expect that Lu Han gave him a huge hope. As long as he doesn't die and can get rid of Danzo's bondage, he believes that he can save his son, and even take revenge and kill Danzo. There are two enemies of Senju Senro. The first is Danzo, and the second is Sarutobi Hiruzen. He is indeed still alive. I have already met him. Lu Han continued, have you seen the person who just met me? Lu Han was talking about White Zetsu. Senju Senluo can sense the chaotic within 100 miles. If he had followed him all the way, he would have seen White Zetsu. White Zetsu moved underground by relying on organic matter. This is a technique, and there must be chakra fluctuations. It is difficult for Lu Han to find him, but Senju Senluo can. Senju Senro nodded. You've seen him. His name is White Zetsu. He was created by Uchiha Madara. Lu Han said, in fact, White Zetsu was not created by Madara, but a product of depravity immersed in infinite Tsukuyomi in ancient times, but Lu Han did not need to these tell Senju Senro. Senju Senluo suddenly looked up to the east. Obviously, White Zetsu has not left within 100 miles, just to the east. Call. Senju Senra soared into the sky and was about to chase after White Zetsu. Come back. Don't go, he doesn't know you and will kill you. Lu Han raised his head and shouted. Bloody Yuhi-colored lightning flew back and landed in front of Lu Han. He stared at Lu Han. He really believed in Lu Han. In his heart, Lu Han was both a friend and an enemy, and there was no contradiction at all. I have made an appointment with Uchiha Madara, and we will meet tomorrow. Lu Han said, flipping his wrist, took out Hiraishin Kunai from the space backpack, and handed it to Senju Senra. I want to meet him alone first, then from time to time, I will tell him about you, and if he agrees to help you, I will immediately appear by your side and take you there. Quote. Senju Senluo was holding Hiraishin Kunai in his hand. His hands were shaking a little, he seemed to be unable to speak. His voice trembled. Thank you, thank you. In Lu Han's eyes, the Yuhi name above his head began to flicker, and after Yuhi Green alternated 5 or 6 times, it was fixed as the green name. Green name Senluo is back. Green name twice. Lu Han believed that it would be difficult for Senju Senluo to change back to the Yuhi name, and being able to change to the green name again showed his incomparable trust in Lu Han, and Lu Han was confident to convince Uchiha Madara that Uchiha Madara would definitely save Senju Senluo. A freak with Mangekyo and Senju Hashirama cells can completely become the next terrifying existence with Rinnegan. Uchiha Madara needs such a person to carry out the Moon Eye plan. Uchiha Madara needs help. Akatsuki has not yet been established, and he has not many people. Lu Han was more than happy to give Senju Senluo to Uchiha Madara, and put a green name next to Uchiha Madara. No matter how Uchiha Madara induces training, Lu Han firmly believes that Senju Senluo will always be his friend. At the camp by the lake, the aroma of barbecue is particularly strong. Might Dai has already eaten half of a wild boar. He doesn't seem to have a big belly, and he doesn't know how to eat it. Hataki Tai Shuo has finished his dinner and is practicing his knife on the lake. Switching from a short knife to a sickle has not brought him a difficult bottleneck. In fact, the skills of the knife are basically the same. Hataki Tai Shuo's current strength may be comparable to compared with the Hataki Sakumo 3 years ago. Of course, it still can't compare to the current Hataki Sakumo. Sir. Captain. Teacher. Lu Han in a black robe walked out of the forest on the other side of the lake, and everyone around the bonfire got up and greeted respectfully. Next to Lu Han was a man with a blood-colored robe and a kabuto hat that was extremely fat and covered his face. No one could see his face. Several Anbu ninjas and Hataki Tai Shuo changed their faces. They had all seen Senju Senluo. Senju Senluo also participated in the Konoha Back Mountain Rebellion 3.5 years ago, and has been flying around in the sky. Teacher, Lu Han walked to the bonfire. Hataki Tai Shuo leaned over and asked in a low voice. Sen Luo has other tasks. By the way, come with us these few days. Lu Han said, without saying much. Other people naturally did not dare to ask more. On the northern border of the Land of Fire, a luxuriant valley is hidden in the vast mountains and forests. The stream in the valley is gurgling, and the waterfall is like the silver river hanging down from the mountain wall, rushing endlessly. By the creek, Hanzo sat cross-legged with the chain axe and sickle on his legs, motionless, like a sculpture. Whoosh! The sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded. Hanzo opened his eyes, raised and retracted his arms. The sword light flashed away, so fast that people could not catch it with the naked eye. Danzo seemed to have not moved, and the stone that was cut in half fell beside him on the grass. Master Hanzo is worthy of the name of a demigod, and his swordsmanship has become more and more superb. Black Zetsu walked out of the dark woods behind and clapped his hands. Are all people in the black market as boring as you? Hanzo stood up and looked at Black Zetsu coldly. Call, 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 call. More than a dozen figures appeared ghostly around Hanzo, each of them wearing long robes enough to cover the whole body, and the breath was cold. Lord Hanzo's subordinates are really masters like clouds. So many people are dealing with Han Guang. Are they making a big fuss? Black Zetsu swept his eyes and said in a strange tone. Humph. It's just to prevent people from being disturbed. I'm enough to kill Han Guang. Hanzo snorted coldly. He still remembered how he lost to Han Guang last time, so he made adequate preparations this time. I believe that Hanzo-sama will definitely be able to. Black Zetsu said with a gloomy smile. The time has been set. Tomorrow afternoon, End Valley. Chapter 0604-White Rabbit. As a non-famous neurological patient of Konoha, Senju Senluo has always been a broken mouth, and after he returned to the lake camp with Lu Han, he was silent for a period of time. Lu Han knew that he was missing his son and did not comfort him. Because this is an unsolvable problem, and everything can only be solved by him. Unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, he returned to his old ways and became the same as before, as if he had forgotten his troubles. The dead of night, everyone else has rested, and Hatake Taishuo is vigilant. I've used this knife before, it's very sharp, it's a rare gift, but Han Guang is very stingy. I asked him for it, but he didn't give it to me. This bastard, I still regard him as my best friend. Senju Senluo was thinking about Hatake Taishuo, and debating about the blade of Kurigakure. Hatake Taishuo was already in a lot of trouble, but he was not easy to attack. He could only sit by the lake like an old monk in meditation. You are very boring, you know. Han Guang told me that you are his disciple. Tisk tisk tisk. You are so old, you are too embarrassed to worship him as a teacher. Senju Senluo suddenly stopped talking, because the sound was too sudden and seemed strange. Hatake Taishuo looked at him, but saw that he had stood up and looked north. What? Hatake Taishuo was suddenly alert, got up and asked. He didn't notice anything, but Senju Senluo's demeanor had already explained. What was there? What a white rabbit, Senju Senluo said in a strange tone, and immediately rose into the sky, turning into a bloody lightning bolt, and pierced the sky toward the north. Call. Stay here. Lu Han appeared ghostly at Senju Senluo's place, left a voice, and then disappeared. White Zetsu is here. Lu Han knew that the white rabbit in the mouth of Senju Forest was White Zetsu. In fact, Lu Han was not afraid that White Zetsu would go in return, and ran over to spy on him. He was afraid that something might go wrong with Senju. More than 10 kilometers to the north. Horizon tore through the air, and in a flash of hundreds of meters, Lu Han appeared. He still did not catch up with Senju Senluo. This guy is too fast, because he has Senju Hashirama cells in his body. His body repair ability is extremely pervert, relying on the ability of Mangekyo Sharingan to fly. He wasn't afraid to wear out his eyes. Boom. Yuhi's name appeared in the forest in front of him. As far as Lu Han could see, towering trees fell, and then countless trees grew back on the land. There were also vines, which looked like death in the dark. The tentacles, waving, rushed into the sky, and then into the ground, tearing the earth apart and sending dust flying. Bastard! Come out, don't hide below. Senju flew above the forest, using Mokuden wood style to his heart's content, a little exasperated. Call. Luhan relied on Hiraishin Kanai, who was on Senju Senrao's body, appeared behind him out of thin air, and patted Senju Senrao's shoulder. If you can't find him like this, you will only scare him away. The roar stopped suddenly. The forest has been turned into ruins. The smoke and dust have not yet dispersed. Luhan and Senju Senluo landed on the fallen giant tree. Luhan has seen the map fully open, but there is no trace of White Zetsu. Senju Senluo kept turning around, staring at the surroundings. He couldn't feel White Zetsu anymore. It's useless, his mayfly technique. As long as he wants to, he can completely restrain his breath. You can't feel anything. Luhan continued, calm down, please. Let's go back. In the second half of the night, somewhere in the north of the country of fire, in the underground hall, a huge shadow like an ancient behemoth was hidden in the darkness north of the hall. The yellow flame in the brazier jumped with the airflow in the hall. The shadows seemed real and illusory under the firelight. Uchiha Madara sat cross-legged in front of the stone wall, silent. Sir. White Zetsu's voice suddenly sounded in the dark corner. How are things going? Uchiha Madara made an old voice without turning his head. Has Han Guang been suspicious? Han Guang has brought a lot of people. This time I left Konoha to visit the country of thunder, so there are many experts in the entourage. He met me alone and found nothing unusual. Hanzo has already prepared well. Just wait for tomorrow afternoon. You can kill the cold light. Very good. Uchiha Madara is very satisfied. This is a decision he made after thinking for a long time. He doesn't like being threatened, and he doesn't want to have a handle on others, so he plans to get rid of Hangguang, using a strategy of killing two birds with one stone. As long as Hanzo killing Hangguang and letting Black Zetsu operate from it will surely create more waves in the world of ninja, and Hangguang's death will also save the world the trouble of letting the world find out that Uchiha Madara is still alive. As for what Han Guang said, there are still people who know about it. Uchiha Madara thinks what Han Guang said is a lie. In fact, even if it is true, it doesn't matter. Uchiha Madara has left few traces in this world since his suspended animation. The Moon Eye plan is currently only known to Uchiha Madara and Ju. Pass. There is no evidence. We are not afraid of rumors that Uchiha Madara is still alive. Who would believe it? As long as the cold light is removed, everything will be fine. Because Uchiha Madara still doesn't know how Hangguang knows about those things. Hangguang is weird. If he can't figure it out, he doesn't want to, just erase the source of this problem. Anything else? Uchiha Madara turned her head slightly, and White Zetsu didn't even leave, hiding in a dark corner, wondering what she was thinking. Yes, I found something that I feel compelled to tell your lord. Speak. It was a Konoha ninja who seemed to be protecting Hangguang in the dark. Now he has met Hangguang. He has a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. If I read correctly, it should be Uchiha Kagame's Mangekyo Sharingan. Died in battle, those eyes should be transplanted. Uchiha Madara was silent for a while before saying, what else? He didn't seem to care about Uchiha Kagami Mangekyo. That guy, Mokuden, wood style. White Zetsu said cautiously. Uchiha Madara's body shook violently, stood up suddenly, and looked at White Zetsu. It should be Senju Hashirama's cells. White Zetsu added, his chakra fluctuations are very abnormal and very unstable. If it was only Mangekyo, White Zetsu would not have reported to Uchiha Madara, but Mangekyo plus Mokuden, wood style, it is extraordinary, that is the basis of Ra Rinnegan. Chapter 0605 _ The End Valley. At noon, the sun was shining brightly, and the country of fire was gradually becoming less than the hottest gathering. There was no shade in the forest, and it was extremely sultry. Luhan still took people to the northern border of the country of fire. In fact, if he was alone, at his speed, he would have left the country of fire long ago, but this is a mission visit, and he is not in a hurry. Who is he? An old voice suddenly sounded in Lu Han's mind. Lu Han stopped on the tree, frowning slightly, and the others stopped as well. Insight map was fully opened. Lu Han did not find any trace of Uchiha Madara. Senju Senluo, who was wearing a blood robe, was still hovering in the sky boredly, and he did not find any abnormality. The voice belonged to Uchiha Madara. Lu Han didn't know how he did it, and put the voice directly into people's consciousness, but Lu Han could guess one or two things. Uchiha Shisui in the original book is strong enough to directly invade the human brain, although Uchiha Madara does not have Rinnegan now, but Rinnegan is different from Mangekyo. Once it is turned on, it exists in the soul, which is not the power of human beings. After the resurrection there is Rinnegan, who can testify to this. Lu Han has no doubt that Uchiha Madara still has extremely terrifying power, even if it is Shisui in an instant. Can you hear? Lu Han tried to communicate with Uchiha Madara with his inner voice. No respond. Obviously, Uchiha Madara can send his voice directly into Lu Han's mind, but he has not yet been able to hear Lu Han's inner voice. If he could, it would be terrifying. He would have the ability to see people's inner thoughts. Teacher. Hatake Taishuo couldn't help speaking when he saw that Lu Han was standing on the tree and didn't know what he was thinking. Lu Han didn't respond, raised his hand, and led him onwards. Who is he? That person in the sky, who is he? Uchiha Madara's voice appeared in Lu Han's mind again. He seemed to hope that Lu Han would answer him directly with his voice, but Lu Han definitely couldn't do it. Suddenly nonsense would be taken as mentally ill. Lu Han confirmed one thing. That is Uchiha Madara's inability to send his own voice into Senju Senrao's mind. The conflicting yin and yang forces are not only hurting Senju Senra, but also protecting him. The time is changed after nightfall, and the location remains the same. Madara added. Lu Han, who was walking forward, stopped for a while, looked around, and said that he knew. A few hours later, the end of dusk. Sky was already extremely dark. Lu Han and others stopped to rest again. Might Dai and others made fire. Hatake Taishuo went and caught a few beasts for dinner. Senju Senluo, who was warned by Lu Han last night, did not run around again. Even if he found out, even though White Zetsu was nearby, he didn't go past. Night falls silently. Everyone sat around the fire. Lu Han simply ate some barbecued meat, then got up and said, "The Valley of the End is not far from here. I'm going there to see it. Matsuri pays tribute to the original Hokage. You stay here, and then I don't wander around until you come back. If you find any problems, Senluo, you go to the Valley of the End and let me know." No one objected to Lu Han's words, but Hatake Taishuo wanted to go to the End Valley with Lu Han, but Lu Han refused. Seeing Uchiha Madara, Lu Han can only be one person. In fact, he already understands that Uchiha Madara wants to see Senju Senluo, but Lu Han will not take him there easily. Luo to him. In the Valley of the End, two huge statues stood opposite each other. The water vapor was thick, the waterfall roared, and the white waves were billowing in the pool. The incomparably huge open space, in the center, has been lit by a bonfire, and dozens of trees stand together to form a fire pile that is nearly 10 meters high. But there was no one in the valley, and the huge fire seemed to appear suddenly, coming out of nowhere, which was quite strange. Lu Han walked slowly into the Valley of the End, his hand always on the hilt of the knife, and he approached the huge fire in a hurry. It seems that he is the only one in the entire Valley of Ending. It's a bad feeling. With my current strength, even if Uchiha Madara shoots himself, he can't keep me. Why do I still feel dangerous? Lu Han was very vigilant. He knew very well that this trip would not be peaceful. Prepared for the worst. Uchiha Madara is a hero of a generation. Even if he is old, he should not be underestimated. This time we met with Uchiha Madara. If Uchiha Madara does not come up with something, then he is not calling himself a madman. But Lu Han is still here. He hopes to use the power of Uchiha Madara to ascend to the position of Hokage. Only Konoha, the most powerful of the 5 master ninja villages, can Lu Han subvert the world more quickly and safely. so he knows that it is dangerous to come here. He's still relentless. What did he prepare for? Lu Han stopped near the huge fire and couldn't move forward anymore. Insight map out of the way. This time, the big Yuhi point appeared, which is also the big Yuhi point that does not show the level, but it is not White Zetsu, nor Uchiha Madara, but Black Zetsu. South End Valley, in the woods. Black Zetsu stood on the tree, looking in the direction of the huge fire. Beside the tree, there was a round hole. According to the information analyzed by White Zetsu, Han Guang's perception ability is limited to above the surface, and his perception ability is extremely weak for underground, and the earth can block his ability. Therefore, as long as people are underground, cove light is difficult to find. He has reached the center of the cursor A. It's your turn to take action. Black Zetsu said in a low voice. Call. A figure sprang out from the pitch-black hole. The chain axe swayed, making a swooshing sound. He dodged again and disappeared into the woods. Beside the huge fire, Lu Han smiled dumbly. The insight map shows that another Yuhi point appeared beside Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu disappeared immediately. Then Yuhi point was changed to Big Yuhi point, level 70 bronze boss, Hanzo. At the same time as Hanzo appeared, Yuhi points also appeared in other directions around the Valley of the End, and there were a dozen or so. Chapter 0606_Hanzo again. A dozen people, led by Hanzo, were distributed around the Valley of the End, while Lu Han was in the middle of the Valley of the End. That is to say, they surrounded Lu Han. I actually found Hanzo, and Black Zetsu also showed up. Is it a mission released to Hanzo through the black market? Lu Han thought of the possibility that was closest to the real situation. It was Yuhi's name, and he had long known the danger of this trip. More than 10 Yuhi points quickly converged, with Hanzo the fastest. After a few breaths, Lu Han saw Hanzo's figure. On the other side of the huge fire, Hanzo rushed out of the woods and stopped at the edge of the clearing. In other directions, more than a dozen Omegaker ninjas also appeared. Lu Han's eyesight was astonishing. Circles, the distances between them are exactly the same. Captain Omegaker Anbu also came, and he still looked like that smoky smoke. His level has already reached the level 60 white silver boss. Lu Han looked around thoughtfully. He had already noticed something was wrong, but he didn't panic. Hanzo didn't talk nonsense, stared at Lu Han, and quickly hand seal. Sealing technique, Kai Lian Ju Kong Zunchi. After Hanzo completed the hand seal, he slapped the ground with one hand, and the ground immediately appeared with a curse mark pattern, and then it burst. Countless detonating talismans connected into a line, constantly exploding, and continuously extending forward. The speed was extremely fast, and it took only one breath. The detonating talisman extended to the huge fire in the middle of the open space. Boom, boom. The fire burst, and countless pieces of wood and sparks splattered all around. The power of the explosion was by no means weaker than that of S-ranked Kaiden, fire-style ninjutsu. Terrible flames swept around, forming a sea of fire in the open space. The reaction was extremely fast, and he had already jumped into the sky, and relied on futon wind-style ninjutsu to slowly drift downward. The fire quickly dissipated. The entire open space has changed, and the fire Yuhi-colored incantation pattern is like a spider web that covers the rocky ground. Looking down from the sky, it is extremely spectacular. In the center of the open space, the firewood was already in the original position of the fire. It exploded, revealing what was hidden in the middle of the fire. It was a burnt Yuhi metal circle Jinchuriki column, 3 meters in diameter and 10 meters high, and it was full of dark Yuhi-colored mantras. Formed. The entire Valley of Ending was shrouded in this barrier, and Lu Han lost his sense of Horaishin Kuei outside the Valley of Ending. It is the sealing technique that restricts the Horaishin technique. In fact, with Hanzo's ability and the technique he mastered, it was not enough to seal Horaishin, and Lu Han's Horaishin technique was not sealed either. Just the induction is isolated. Lu Han can still use Horaishin Kunai in the Valley of the End, but he can't feel it as too far away from him. For example, when Hiraikinkanai is placed on Senju Senluo's body, Luhan can't feel it, can't sense it, and naturally can't teleport there. Tisk tisk, Danzo, Hanzo, they are all virtues. Are you worried that I will run away? Luhan chuckled and fell to the ground. Hangguang, today is your day of death. Hanzo shouted coldly. You are also a competent villain. I can't count the people who said this to me now, but I am still alive. Lu Leng looked at Hanzo. Lord Hanzo. 3 years. The previous battle was unforgettable to me. The knife that almost tore my chest apart, I will never forget it. For this reason, I practice the swordsmanship hard. Today is the night of the murder, the night is dark and the wind is high. Shall I duel again? It's all tricks. There were a lot of people on the other side, and they weren't trash fish. Everyone who took them out was a strong man on his own. Luhan had the intention to fight Hanzo, but he didn't want to be beaten. Ha ha ha, Hanzo laughed. Hangguang, are you timid? Don't worry, I didn't plan to let them attack you today. I'll be alone. Luhan twitched the sword of shock slowly, pointed the tip of the knife directly at Hanzo, and said hoarsely, then please. Today, only one of you and me can leave the Valley of Ending alive. Arrogant, ignorance brat, he has only been practicing for a few years, and he really thinks he is my opponent. Hanzo raised his scythe. Today next year will be your death day. Luhan couldn't stand Hanzo's classic lines of the villain anymore, so he took the lead and disappeared in place with a shock of his feet. After that, he appeared behind Hanzo like a ghost, and the sword light fell like thunder. Good come. Hanzo burst into a drink, his body continued to rotate, and even Luhan's several knives. Immediately afterwards, there was a muffled groan, and the moment they fought, Luhan's knife tore off his shirt, leaving a bloodstain on his shoulder. Hanzo turned pale in shock and backed away. Lord Hanzo, your knife is too slow. Luhan sneered pitifully. In 3 years, he fought with the faceless tens of thousands of times. Every inch of the skin on the whole body was cut by the knife, and the most serious time, he was almost cut off by the faceless man. Out of the knife. Fight, fight, these have been integrated into his soul. Now Luhan, every time he uses the knife, he will not have any distractions, and use the simplest and fastest way to use the knife. In his eyes, Hanzo's knife is really too slow. Another opponent of Luhan in recent years is White Fang. White Fang's swords are known for being fast, so he has adapted to White Fang's quick swords. Looking at Hanzo's swordsmanship, he is really slow by more than 1 point. There are obvious flaws, but Luhan's knife is faster. The so-called only fast is not broken, it is the truth. In terms of pure swordsmanship, Hanzo is no longer Luhan's opponent. Of course, swordsmanship is not all of Hanzo's strength. In a very short period of time, the two fought hundreds of tricks in a row. Hanzo fought and retreated. There were 7 more wounds on his body, and the wounds were not deep. Luhan's swordsmanship was stronger than his, but not by much. 1 point, so he decisively changed his tactics. Kaden, fire style, exploding flame formation. Hanzo slapped the ground with one hand, and countless explosive talismans started from his palm, quickly spreading towards Luhan, like climbing vines, trying to wrap around Luhan's legs. Luhan blocked his right eye, his left eye Mangekyo spun rapidly, and he brazenly launched a terrifying pupil technique that could rebound ninjutsu. The world moves. Chapter-607-instant flower rain cut. Hanzo was releasing his best Kaden, fire style, ninjutsu. He saw Luhan's left eye Mangekyo spinning rapidly, and he already realized it was not good. He didn't know what the ability of Luhan's left eye was, so he didn't dare to look at it again. The most feared thing about Sharingan is demonic illusion. No matter how powerful the ninja is, once trapped by demonic illusion, he will become a lamb to be slaughtered. Hanzo guessed that Luhan launched demonic illusion. That's not demonic illusion, however. It is a kind of pupil technique with extremely terrifying effect. In a trance, Hanzo found that the detonating talismans that were supposed to wrap around Hangguang's ankles all appeared at his feet. He couldn't help but look horrified. He immediately gave up the spell and jumped up into the sky. Boom! Countless detonating talismans burst under his feet, and the flames with huge shock waves shone high in the sky. The flames were lifted up to dozens of meters high, and they kept chasing the fast-rising Hanzo. It looked as if Hanzo had been blown up. Fly like. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 Hiraishin Kunai, in the shape of a product, strike directly at Hanzo. ... Dozens of kilometers away from the Valley of the End, there is a raging camp. Senju Senluo is cutting wood by himself. He is going to cut out a statue. There are already people's outlines. Others are hiding from him. He is too annoying, like a chatter. If anyone talks to him, don't stop down. Huh. Senju suddenly stood up, frowned and looked in the direction of End Valley. The distance was too far, so naturally he couldn't see anything, but he could feel a strong chakra fluctuation coming from there. It was Kaden, fire-style chakra. In the forest not far away, the old Uchiha Madara stood in the shadow of the big tree, looking at Senju Senra from afar. He seemed to be extremely interested in Senju Senrao, and his eyes were full of strange brilliance. Henguu is in trouble, Senju Senluo said suddenly, and after leaving the words, he rose into the sky, turned into a bloody yuhi-colored lightning, and flew away in the direction of the Valley of the End. Might Dai, Hataki Taishuo and others all changed their expressions, all got up and looked at each other. Let's go together, Might Dai said. ... In the Valley of the End, the battle continued. After experiencing all kinds of miscalculations, Hanzo finally stabilized his position and regained his fighting rhythm. He had realized that only relying on swordsmanship was not Lu Han's opponent, and only relying on ninjutsu is not Lu Han's opponent, and must combine the two. Lu Han's swordsmanship and ninjutsu are stronger than Hanzo, but his abilities exist independently and cannot be enhanced by a combined attack. And Hanzo can. This is his true strength. Ninja body flow Hattori Zunha. Hanzo slashed with a knife, and countless detonating talismans flew out from his sleeves, forming a giant purely made of detonating talismans in front of him. When the giant charged towards Lu Han, his whole body exploded, reaching Lu Han's body. In the past, it has become a burning man with a height of tens of meters. Susanoo. Lu Han pushed his eyes with all his strength, and a terrifying aura rose from his body. Susanoo, who was 50 meters tall, appeared, hugged the burning man directly, and crushed it to pieces. Boom! The fire broke out and devoured Susanoo, but was unable to break through Susanoo's defenses. Kaden, fire style, lava fall. Hanzo released the ninjutsu again. Susanoo's feet exploded in a large area, the detonating talisman danced, and the magma poured out from the cracked ground, forming a pair of big hands, as if he wanted to drag Susanoo down. The power of this technique was enough to shake Susanoo's giant. Lu Han secretly said that it was not good. Once Susanoo was forced, his eyes would also be severely damaged. Quickly dismissing Susanoo, Lu Han flashed continuously in the air, and was about to approach Hanzo again. At this time, whoosh! The sound of breaking the air came, and when it sounded, it seemed to be still in the sky, and in an instant, it was over the Valley of the End. Senju Senluo came, and a blood robe shook in the wind. He looked down at the battlefield below and grinned. Seal, interesting. Hanzo looked up, his face changed. Judging from his breath, Senju Senluo is an extremely powerful ninja, but he is not as good as Hanzo. However, if he is allowed to join the battle and help Hangguang, then Hanzo will be really dangerous. Hanzo knows his situation very well. Growing up to this point, this made him want to kill Hangguang even more, and he didn't want anyone to interfere. Kill him, Hanzo shouted coldly, raising his scythe. Including the smoke, a dozen Omegacore powerhouses all moved. Senju Senluo was in the sky. Most of them couldn't do anything, but the smoke could. The forbidden technique he practiced could turn himself into smoke, and he was in the state of smoke. Very light. I saw the smoke turned into a wisp of smoke, rushing into the sky several hundred meters in an instant. The smoke swelled, and turned into a black-robed figure, quickly hand seal. Secret method, 5 rounds of forbidden locks. A chain of smoke shot out, and it landed on Senju Senruo in a breath. Suddenly, Senju Senruo also became smoky, but the smoke did not hurt him. Senju Senro's reaction was strange and seemed to find it interesting. It's actually connected together, can't you get rid of it? Senju Senruo muttered, suddenly turned into blood Yuhi lightning, and flew towards the north of the Valley of the End. The smoke was like a shadow, followed by Senju Senrao. He doesn't know how to fly, and it looks like he's being dragged away by Senju Senro. It's the smoke chain that locks the two together. The smoke chain seems to extend infinitely. You can quickly reach Senju Senro's side through the smoke chain. Don't fly down, be careful. Lu Han couldn't help reminding. Senju Senra is powerful, but if he flies down, he will inevitably be besieged by more than a dozen Omegakure powerhouses, then he will be in danger. In the sky, only Captain Omegakure Anbu smoke, Senju Senra is enough to deal with. Hanzo, who had fresh Yuhi all over his body, rushed to Lu Han again fiercely. I don't know if he used some kind of forbidden technique. His momentum was further enhanced, and his speed more than doubled. Obviously, this is a special state. That said, it cannot be sustained for a long time. Lu Han was very anxious in his heart. He was not worried about himself, but about Senju Senruo. Seeing Hanzo rushing towards him, Lu Han didn't dodge or dodge, but just raised the knife and triggered the magic in the Ring of 10,000 Techniques. S-Class Futon, Wind Style, Forbidden Technique, Flower and Rain Cutting Technique. Instant. Boom. At this moment, the huge lotus is in full bloom. Chapter-601-620 Melee. Lu Han wants to kill Hanzo in seconds, and he is likely to succeed. With instant S-rank ninjutsu, no one would have imagined that such a thing would happen. No matter how powerful the ninja was, if he didn't react in time, he would be cut into pieces in the face of the technique of cutting flowers and rain, as did Lu Han. However, Lu Han underestimated Hanzo's cruelty. At the moment when the flower and rain cutting technique broke out, Hanzo disappeared directly in front of Lu Han, and was replaced by an Omegakure strong man with a black robe covering his head. The level 60 elite, this guy doesn't seem to know what happened, and he was torn apart by hundreds of wind blades. Substitute. It's not that kind of low-level stand-in technique. Hanzo can instantly swap places with a strong ninja who has entered the cage level threshold even when the space is unstable. This is obviously a remarkable forbidden technique, or a secret technique. If Lu Han didn't guess wrong, Hanzo must have cast the relevant spell on the opponent in advance. In other words, Hanzo had long been prepared to let the ninja die for him, and he would only use this technique when faced with an irresistible situation. Tisk tisk tisk, Hanzo, you really don't have any compassion at all. You were a loyal subordinate who was born and died for you, and you gave up so easily. When the violent wind blades dissipated, Lu Han's teasing voice also followed. Sounded. Hanzo was already furious and even more frightened. He didn't know how Lu Han instantly cast the S-rank forbidden technique, and he didn't know how many times Lu Han could instantly cast it. Tongling Sanjiao Fish. Hanzo decisively opened his biggest hole card, his psychic beast, Sanjiao. Boom. The smoke rose, and a huge mountain pepper fish appeared. It looked like a huge gecko. The mountain pepper fish was named Fish, but it had nothing to do with fish at all. It was an amphibian and reptile. Hanzo stood on the top of the Sanjiao fish head, his whole body was full of blood, and he didn't know if it was the consequence of the forbidden technique he just performed. If you want to duel, what's your skill in summoning psychic beasts? Lu Leng said with a smile. Damn it. Hanzo dodged and disappeared. At the same time, the Sanjiao headed into the ground and disappeared. Is the ability to burrow. This is an ability similar to Doden, Earth-style, ninjutsu. It is not simply to drill and climb underground. Sanjiao's sneak attack ability is very strong, and the poisonous mist sprayed is extremely bad. The defense has a very terrifying paralyzing effect. Even Hanzo, who has Sansho fish toxin antibodies in his body, can't resist the poisonous mist attack of Sansho fish, and the toxicity is strong. Trouble. Luhan flashed quickly without touching the ground. In fact, Luhan is not afraid of Hanzo alone, or Sanzang alone, but the two will cooperate. Sanzang will launch a sneak attack, and Hanzo will give a fatal blow. It is indeed very troublesome. Luhan himself is not afraid of toxins, because he can drink medicine to detoxify. However, taking medicine also takes time. Call. Hanzo ghosts usually appear behind Luhan. Luhan turned around with a knife, and Hanzo burst into flames. It was a clone. Luhan had to rely on the technique of Hiraishin to move to another place in the valley, so as to escape the burning of the flames. Cadent Fire Style Tongue Death Flame Formation. The real Hanzo appeared on top of Luhan's head and started ninjutsu. Cadent Fire Style Majestic Destroyer Flame Great Fire Annihilation. Luhan completed the hand seal in an instant, and LV9 Ultimate Majestic Destroyer Flame Great Fire Annihilation rushed into the sky. End the raging civil war in the valley. Luhan and Hanzo were fighting hard. In the sky, Yan and Senju Senluo were also fighting for their lives. Senju Senluo had not met an opponent as interesting as Yan for a long time. He was fast and could fly. With Mangekyo, he could Mokuden, wood style, and the laudable ability of smoke is simple, just one, smoke. And it was this ability that gave Senju Senra a headache, because many times, he thought he could kill the smoke, but the smoke turned into smoke and escaped the fatal attack. I don't know if there are any side effects of continuous smog. These two, one is Captain Omegakure Anbu, and the other is the Ace of Konoha's roots. Their identities are quite equal. In fact, Senju Senra should be stronger. As long as he reaches the ground and exerts his full-strength Mokuden, wood-style, smoke is not at all his opponent, but Luhan forbade him to fly down, because there were more than a dozen Omegakure powerhouses waiting for him on the ground. End Valley. Hataki Taishuo and Might Dai landed on a sunny day tree dozens of meters high one after another. It was so intense. Lord Hengguang is singled out Hanzo, the leader of Omegakure known as a demigod. Senju Senra seems to have met an equal opponent, and more than a dozen ninjas with strong breath are scattered in the End Valley, waiting for an opportunity. The two looked at each other. I'll go first. Might Dai's whole body erupted with terrifying chakra fluctuations. Blue steam lingered around him. The seventh gate of the 8 inner gates, the door opened. On the way, he didn't open the 8 inner gates, so he was no faster than Hataki Taishuo. Hataki Taishuo led him to run, but when he opened the 7th gate, his whole person changed, and the distorted airflow seemed to tearing apart the space. In the blink of an eye, he not only disappeared beside Hataki Taishuo, but also appeared in the End Valley. This is the 8 inner gates. Hataki Taishuo was a little shocked. It's only the 7th gate, not the strongest 8th gate. It becomes the 8 inner gates. You must know that when the 8 inner gates opens the 6th gate, the speed can quickly rub the flames with the air, and the 7th gate is naturally stronger and faster. The other ninjas of the Konoha mission were still behind, and at a distance of dozens of kilometers, Hataki Taishuo and Might Dai had already left them far behind. Might Dai rushed into the End Valley battlefield first, followed by Hataki Taishuo. The strength rating of the two may both reach the level 60 white silver boss. Might Dai is even stronger, but he cannot maintain his state for a long time. Wolves entering the flock. A dozen Omegakure powerhouses finally have opponents, however, they are not opponents of the two at all. Hanzo's face changed dramatically. He suddenly looked up at the sky. He was looking at Senju Senrao. Senju Senra must be killed first, so that the smoke can pull away and lead the others by the smoke, which is enough to fight against the two strong Konohas. Boom! Hanzo jumped at his feet and rose into the sky. Chapter 0609-Death of Senro. Hanzo has been in the ninja world for 20 years and won the name of demigod. Naturally, he is not a generalist. His strength is not only his own strength, but also the ability to judge the situation. A single cold light is not enough to make him retreat. But with Senju Senluo, Kimin Might Dai, and Hataki Taishuo, the three powerhouses, he already had the idea of running away. But he knows very well that he can't run, and his fame will be ruined in one lifetime. If you want to change the situation, the key lies in Senju Senrao. The smoke entangled Senju Senrao, and Senju Senrao also entangled the smoke. In Hanzo's opinion, as long as he kills the flying guy and gives the smoke a chance to deal with the two strong Konohas, he will have a turnaround on his own side. Possible. Seeing Hanzo rising into the sky and heading straight for Senju Senluo, Luhan realized that it was not good. Senluo, hide, Luhan shouted. Trap him. Hanzo drank coldly at the same time. Megakure Anbu, who was surrounded by smoke, reacted very quickly. Hearing Hanzo's order, black energy suddenly erupted from his body, and the person had disappeared. Senju Senluo didn't obey Luhan's orders. His low rating was because of this. His brain was abnormal and his ability to judge the situation was poor. He still wanted to kill the smoke, but was enveloped by the black gas, and his body seemed to be attached to a 10,000-pound weight, and his movements became slow. Damn it! Senju snorted lowly. Long wooden thorns grew on his hands, and the wooden thorns branched into hundreds of branches, sweeping wildly around. The black energy trapping him was actually bleeding. Blood appeared out of thin air, and it seemed that the smoke had been hit hard, but he still did not retreat. Call. Luhan appeared beside Senju Senluo, and Senju Senluo had his Horaishinkanai on him. Rasengan. Luhan's hand shone with a faint blue light. LV9 Ultimate Rasengan swept out and penetrated into the black gas. The black gas was torn apart, blood rained, and the smoke was hit hard again, but he still did not back down and was still trapped. Senju Senro. This guy is taking his life. His rating has reached the level of 60 white silver boss. If this level of powerhouse is desperate, Luhan will not be able to solve it immediately. Hanzo rushed up. Luhan tried to stop it, but Hanzo was bizarrely divided into two. One rushed in front of Luhan and burst into flames, and the other appeared behind Senju Senluo, slashing with a sickle. Swordsmanship flash. No no no, Luhan shouted in horror. Hanzo is a lunatic. He directly launches a Nirvana stunt on the trapped Senju Senrao, but you must know that the smoke is trapping Senju Senrao now. It can be said that the two are one. If Hanzo kills Senju Senrao, then he will also kill smoke. Is it worth it? Poochie. Hanzo stabbed through Senju Senluo's body with a single knife, and the terrifying sword chi also completely tore the black chi. The smoke returned from the black chi state to a humanoid state, but his whole body was dripping with blood, his vitality rapidly weakened, and he was about to die. Senju Senro was also seriously injured, but he has Senju Hashirama cells in his body, and his vitality is tenacious, so he looks much better than smoke. Stop the cold light, Hanzo shouted again coldly. The dying smoke turned into a puff of smoke and rushed in front of Luhan, and then turned into black gas, trying to wrap Luhan. At the same time, Hanzo slashed Senju Senluo's back with another knife. Senju Senluo fell to the ground like a cannonball. With a bang, a big hole was smashed into the ground. A puff of poisonous smoke penetrated the ground and disappeared. Hanzo glitter appears over Senju Senra, hand seal. Kaden fire style powerful flame array. Countless detonating talismans sprang out from his sleeves, forming a huge spell print formation on the ground, and then it exploded. A 100-meter radius was immediately plunged into a sea of fire, a terrifying aura rose in the flames, and a huge the Susanoo phantom appeared and shattered. Senju Senrao can't activate Susanoo. Once activated, the yin and yang in his body will be completely unbalanced, and he will die. But he had just fallen into a situation of mortal death, and desperately launched a. Luhan couldn't even see the color of Susanoo, then Susanoo collapsed and disappeared, and Senju Senluo's breath gradually disappeared in the sea of fire. It's all complicated, but it's actually very short. Luhan was entangled in the black air, Rasengan swept around twice, and only a wisp of the black air was melted away. The black air moved away from Luhan and turned into a smoky figure. Luhan didn't have time to deal with this. The guy who was about to die suddenly appeared beside the sea of fire. He was about to put out the fire, but stopped, and the whole person was chilling. On the insight map, the green dot representing Senju Senra disappeared. Ha ha ha, Han Guang, he is very important to you, ha 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 ha. Hanzo laughed wildly in the distance, laughing hysterically. Is it worth it? Lu Han looked at Hanzo. He really wanted to know. You killed him, but you also lost your most important assistant, your Captain Anbu. Is it worth it to exchange one life for another? Lu Han's hands were shaking, and the flames of anger were about to tear his soul apart. Who said smoke can die? He's immortal, ha ha ha. Hanzo laughed wildly again. Lu Han's face changed dramatically and he looked at Yan. The smoke whose life breath had dropped to freezing point turned into a wisp of smoke, and this time, the smoke was the color of Yuhi. Yuhi-colored smoke flew over the small half of the end valley and drilled into a person's body. This person, rated 60 bronze boss. It was Hanzo who brought people in his hands, second only to the existence of smoke. He was joining forces with several people to besiege Hotake Taishuo. After Yuhi-colored smoke penetrated into his body, he held and fell to the ground in pain. Full of spells. Hotake Taishuo found an opportunity, escaped the siege of several people, and stepped forward with a knife and slashed the person. Bang! This person burst into smoke and scattered all around. After the wisps of smoke scattered for tens of meters, they quickly gathered in one place, and condensed into a mysterious figure shrouded in smoke. Captain Omegakure Anbu Smoke. He should have died, but he came back to life. Same height, same breath, same weirdness. He is smoke. Offering Matsuri, the profound truth of life. Resurrection. What? Lu Han was horrified. Chapter 0610-blood boiling. Smoke was resurrected, the breath became stronger and stronger, and a strong fluctuation of life aura gradually came from his body. The poor guy whose body was taken away by the smoke was originally a level 60 bronze boss. It stands to reason that even if the smoke is able to bend over again, will not improve the strength of that body, but he did it. After the strong and unstable fluctuation of life breath appeared, Yan's strength seemed to be recovering, and soon, the word Yuhi on his head was adjusted to level 60 white silver boss. This guy has really regained his strength. Burning his life. He burned his own life in exchange for great strength. Lu Han thought to himself, and suddenly felt that something was wrong. No, what he burned was not his own life, but the vitality of that body. If he can take people's bodies indefinitely, it doesn't matter how good or bad the body he takes. Even if his life expectancy is only 3 years, he can change his body after 3 years. Lu Han knew Satoru. He suddenly didn't think how bizarre this thing was, because he thought of a person, Orochimaru. Original book, Orochimaru developed the technique of immortality, which has something in common with the ability of smoke. Orochimaru started research and development after the Second Ninja World War, and Yan was unknown in the original work. He was rampant during World War II, and it is likely that he died during World War II. Who killed him? If it's Orochimaru. Orochimaru has discovered some secrets about the art of life and death from him, and it's not impossible. Lu Han looked at the smoke, and the constant fluctuation of life breath gave Lu Han a lot of insights and thought, and the anger in his heart also weakened a lot. The smoke has completed its transformation, and the powerful smoke is back. The reason why he is surrounded by smoke and does not show his true face is because he is not alone at all, right? His legend of invincibility is simply false. He has been defeated, but he appeared alive, and he is not alone at all. Lu Han looked at Hanzo and asked. You're very smart. Hanzo didn't deny it, grinning at Lu Han. Yan is indeed not a person. To be precise, his consciousness is unique, but his body has changed more than once. Might Dai is killing all directions like a tank. The master Hanzo brought. He has killed 2 and severely injured 1. Hotake Taishuo has already started to fight with Yan. Yan alone can hold Hotake Taishuo, and under Yan's command, the others all rushed to Kim and Might Dai. If Might Dai uses the 7-door forbidden technique, he should be able to kill the smoke, but this is a life-threatening technique. If Might Dai activates the Day Tiger, then the 7-door state will be lifted. The 7-door is his current limit. It's the ultimate move, and it's not easy to use. The roaring sea of fire gradually extinguished, and Lu Han stared. The charred ground, the seal of the sealing array is still there, densely covered like a spider web, and the scorching aura permeates the ground. There is a big hole in the middle of the ground, which was smashed by Senju Senluo when he landed. It seems that there has been a landslide, where nothing. Lu Han did not see Senju Senluo, and could no longer sense the Hiraishin Kunai that was placed on Senju Senluo's body. It seemed that everything was burnt out. Are there no bones left? Lu Han's heart twitched in pain, his hand holding the sword of astonishment exerted too much force, his knuckles turned white, and the flames of anger ignited in his heart again, almost tearing his sanity apart. Konoha, there are not many real friends. Hitaki Sakumo is one, Senju Senra is also. Senju Senra is a poor man, he did nothing wrong, it was Sarutobi Hiruzen, it was Danzo. It was Hanzo. Whoa! A black shadow suddenly appeared behind Lu Han, his big flat head opened a bloody mouth, and a thick mist sprayed out. Sanjiao fish, poisonous mist spray. Hanzo is ready, he has a heart-to-heart with Sanjiao. When the Sanjiao will attack, he knows very well that after Lu Han is poisoned, he will use thunder to eradicate this confidant. Boom! Get out of here! But seeing Lu Han's body suddenly burst out with powerful blood energy, he roared almost wailing, turned around in an instant, and slashed fiercely in the face of the poisonous fog. The Sanjiao fish with extremely rich combat experience seemed extremely panicked at this moment, and let out a shrill screams. The rocks in front of him swelled to form an obstacle. The rock wall was instantly smashed by Lu Han, and the knife light brought a smear of blood. You, Hanzo roared, damn. Lu Han actually hurt the pepperfish so easily. You must know that the Sanjiao fish has the magical ability to stick to the ground and disappear. If it disappears, and it burrows into the ground in an instant, but it is still injured by Lu Han's knife. You can imagine how terrifying Lu Han's knife is. Lu Han's eyes were filled with blood, and after he hit the mountain pepper fish with a knife, he turned into a shadow and rushed straight to the half-hidden body. The light of the knife was like a yuhi-colored thunder. Ding! Congratulations to the host for comprehending the exclusive ability of the subversive, the blood boils. The elf's voice sounded in Lu Han's mind, but Lu Han didn't seem to hear it. Hanzo took Lu Han's knife forcibly, but was directly blasted out, like a cannonball directly into the woods hundreds of meters away, and I don't know how many trees were broken, causing a roar. The shock of Lu Han's feet appeared directly in front of the half-hidden hundreds of meters away, and the sword of shock slashed again. Hanzo looked shocked. Lu Han's strength and speed had been amazingly improved, and the whole person was in a very wrong state, as if he was crazy. Hanzo dodge, dodge, dodge. Lu Han is chasing Hanzo frantically. He doesn't seem to be able to use ninjutsu anymore, not even Hiraishin, who can move in a blink of an eye. What kind of secret technique is this? What is it? Hanzo asked in surprise. Naturally, Lu Han would not answer him. When Hanzo once again used the teleportation technique to get out of danger, he found that Lu Han was not chasing after him, and then he saw a scene that made him tear his eyes. Lu Han, who was full of blood and energy, suddenly appeared behind the smoke and slashed down. Realizing that the dangerous smoke burst into smoke at this moment and dispersed, and saw the bloody knife light rolling up and down, bringing a terrible knife wind, sweeping all around, all the smoke was torn apart, without a trace, blood rain appeared out of thin air, fluttering. Smoke, die. Chapter-601-Chase and Underground. Yan was instantly killed by the furious Lu Han. In Lu Han's special state, not even Hanzo dared to touch his edge, let alone Yan. Hanzo watched the smoke being killed. He could confirm that the smoke was really dead. At the moment when the sword energy was vertical and horizontal, not a single wisp of smoke escaped the shroud of the sword energy. You must know that when the smoke turned into smoke, it is impossible to defend and cast other spells. The incarnation of smoke has a strong side and a weak side. The fault of the smoke is that he should not completely turn himself into smoke at that moment and expose his weakest side to Lu Han. Lu Han also confirmed the death of Yan, because while the blood was raining, there was also a golden light that only he could see. Hundreds of falling objects appeared out of thin air and turned into streamers and penetrated into his body. 100% dead. If it is suspended animation, there will be no drops, such as the original boiling rain. Hanzo was angry, but more fearful. He didn't know why Lu Han suddenly became so powerful, but he knew that he was no longer Han Guang's opponent. Han Guang had the ability to kill everyone present. Today, he will not only lose, but also die. Heng Guang, I will pay back today's revenge tenfold. Hanzo threw down his ruthless words, and turned into a shadow and ran wildly outside the Valley of End. Run! You can't go away, you can't go away. Lu Han's voice was dry like metal friction. He turned into a Yuhi-colored lightning, chasing Hanzo. Hanzo must die. The two chased and fled, and soon left the Valley of the End. After Hanzo completely escaped from the Valley of End, the 8 Omegacore powerhouses who were still alive whistled at the same time and ran in all directions. Hanzo all ran away, and they had to run because Hanzo had given them a special order, that is, if it happened accidentally, they had to evacuate the battlefield at last. This order was originally aimed at the black market. Hanzo's idea was that once the black market wanted to attack him, he would let the powerhouse in the black market be held back and run first. A very cold-blooded, ruthless, and unethical order. Hanzo is such a person, and this order finally took effect, but not because of the black market. Valley of the End soon became quiet. The woods were still burning, the bodies of several Omegacore powerhouses were lying everywhere, blood was flowing, and the Jinchuriki column in the center of the clearing became dim after losing control of Hanzo. Lost its effectiveness. Susu _ With the sound of fast running, more than a dozen Konoha ninjas rushed into the Valley of the End. They were all stunned when they saw the scene in the Valley of the End. These people were naturally the other members of the Konoha mission. Before, Hitachi Taishuo led Might Dai to the Valley of the End first. Hitachi Taishuo was much stronger than them, and he was good at speed, so he naturally left them far behind. The battle in the End Valley was over, and they came here, and the distance of dozens of kilometers is not too close. Is it over yet? Where are the people? Where are the people? Only these corpses. There are traces of burning here. It's here too. This steel Jinchuriki column is a sealed ninja tool. So big, what kind of sealing technique do you need to use? More than a dozen Konoha ninjas began to scattered search, and the bodies they found were all Omegacore. Call. Steel Jinchuriki column. A whirlwind suddenly rolled up in the open space. Might Dai, covered in blood, appeared out of thin air. Other Konoha ninjas immediately gathered around Might Dai. Before they could ask anything, they saw Hitachi Taishuo not far away. Also appeared out of nowhere. Both of them had bloodstains on their bodies, their breath fluctuated, and they seemed to have consumed a lot. Might Dai's consumption was even more serious, and his face was pale. Both of them had just chosen an Omegacore powerhouse and chased them all the way out of the Valley of End. How is it? Hitachi Taishuo looked at Might Dai. Killed, but didn't find anyone else. Might Dai, who was wearing a mask, had deep eyes. They ran very fast and scattered again. I tried to track the captain, but couldn't find it. Go back to Konoha, Hitachi Taishuo said immediately. This matter must be reported to Lord Hokage as soon as possible. Hanzo escaped and Lu Han chased and killed. With the ability of the two, there is no one here to track it down. What happened today is too big, both in terms of casualties and impact. Once it is known to the outside world, it will definitely cause a sensation in the whole world. Ninja world, so the matter of going to the country of thunder can only be put aside for a while, and must report back to Konoha first. Besides, without the cold light, it would be useless for them to go to the land of thunder. Konoha mission, headed by Might Dai and Hitachi Taishuo, soon left the Valley of End, which had just been devastated by the war, and they also took all the bodies. The Valley of the End became calm again. The moon was obscured by dark clouds, the fire in the woods was strangely extinguished, and the Valley of the End was dark. Senju Senro's place of death. That big hole. No one knew that the crater was not just knocked out, it was indeed a landslide, because not long ago, a huge hole had been quickly made under the crater. At that time, the fire was so bright that the high-temperature flames enough to burn the rock were obscured. Everything, the dazzling fire made people dare not look directly, so no one saw that Senju Senra was grabbed by the ankle of a thin palm that suddenly sprang from the ground before he died, and dragged into the ground. The underground and the ground are two different levels, so even Lu Han could not use the insight map to detect the existence of Senju Senluo. In the depths of the Valley of the End, in the cave illuminated by the fire, the shadow of the person was pulled very long by the jumping fire, and it danced like a ghost. On a stone platform, a slender, one-person high charred object was lying flat. The faint breath of life seemed to be lost at any time. It was Senju Senluo. He had been burned all over his body, and the burn area was 100%. If it weren't for him, he was from the Senju tribe. If it wasn't for the Senju Hashirama's cells in him, he'd be dead. The incomparably old Uchiha Madara stood in front of the stone platform in a plain robe, with a thin palm on Senju Senra's forehead, and strange chakra fluctuations rippling throughout his body. He is integrating the power of yin and yang in Senju Senluo's body, inspiring his vitality. You know, Senju Hashirama has incredible self-healing ability, which comes from Mokuden wood style, from the yang power behind sage body. Senju Senra also has these, but he can't control it, Uchiha Madara can. Chapter 0612-Wake Up. The strange chakra fluctuations are getting stronger and stronger, and dense beads of sweat gradually appear on Uchiha Madara's forehead. Maybe he is the only one in this world who can save Senju Senrao, but he is too old after all. Even if he has the ability to defy the sky, he wants to save people. It is also difficult to do it overnight. A figure suddenly appeared in the cave. This person is neither white Zetsu nor black Zetsu. His body is half black and half white, absolutely. Ju walked over to Uchiha Madara, looked at Senju Senluo on the platform, and said nothing. Time goes by. Hours have passed, the middle of the night. Senju Senluo suddenly had strong chakra fluctuations, and the majestic life force seemed to be uncontrollable and spread throughout the underground cave. I saw the vines hanging on the cave's stone walls growing wildly, and the ground quickly grew rapidly. It was covered with green grass. The grass quickly grew into grass, and flower buds stretched out from the grass, blooming into gorgeous yuhi flowers. The wild plants did not affect Uchiha Madara. Absolutely motionless. The coke-like Senju Senluo made bursts of cracking sounds. I saw cracks appear in the scorched black layer on the surface of his body, and the rapidly growing flesh and blood under the charred black layer pierced it, and pieces of skin and flesh scorched the material formed quickly. Peeled off, revealing pieces of bloody flesh. Those flesh and blood are still growing, and the muscles are visible to the naked eye. Senju Senluo's hair has long been burnt out, and his scalp is completely scorched. At this time, the scorched scalp is falling off, and a new scalp is growing, and then the hair grows wildly. He fully recovered. Lying naked on the platform, the new skin is extremely white and tender, and there is no scar on the whole body. Uchiha Madara slowly removed the hand from his forehead, feeling exhausted. Senju Senra's body was more chaotic than he imagined, mainly because Danzo had done various experiments on Senju Senra, not only the problem of conflict of power. However, everything can be healed under the power of yin and yang. Although Uchiha Madara has sent Rinnegan out, the power of yin and yang is hidden in the soul and will never be lost. Even if he dies, it will not be lost. Senju Senluo suddenly opened his eyes. Mangekyo's eyes were spinning rapidly. Bloodshot eyes were dissatisfied with his eyes. His expression immediately became hideous. His consciousness was still at the moment before he was about to be burned to death. He was full of hatred, so he woke up at this time. Come on, the state is a little crazy. But he immediately discovered his own problem, which was that he couldn't move. Some force imprisoned him. Immediately afterwards, he found an old figure standing on the edge of the platform, looking at him with stern eyes. Who are you? Senju Senro asked. Uchiha Madara, replied the old figure. Konoha village, which had been silent all night, began to be noisy again. During the war, although the Konoha village was heavily guarded and did not conduct trade with the outside world, the population of the Konoha village was very large. In addition to the ninjas, there were 20,000 to 30,000 ordinary residents. For these, as far as people are concerned, war is only a part of their lives. They have to do business and have to work to maintain a living. The economy of Konoha has been seriously slumped, and some people have started to starve. Although the village has established a rescue station, it has achieved little effect. It is not that Konoha has not spent enough money, but that it is difficult to buy enough food with money. The entire ninja world, the economic system of China, is already on the verge of collapse. The number of missing nin is more than 10 times that of peacetime, and there are a huge number of refugees and bandits. The Ninja World War, whether it is for the ninja or the ninja world, is a catastrophe. Hokage Building, Hokage Office. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood in front of the window, looking at Konoha outside the window, without saying a word. He has often done this recently. The once vibrant Konoha hidden village is now like an old man, no longer prosperous. If the ninja war continues, the war will bring down the entire Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen wants to end all this. Lord Hokage. Bang! The door was slammed open, and the dusty Hatake Taishuo rushed into the office in a hurry. He rushed back to Konoha first. Under normal conditions, he was the fastest. Might Dai was still behind, and it was estimated that he would not be able to catch up until noon. Return. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned when he saw Hatake Taishuo. His face changed. Why are you back? Hatake Taishuo visited the land of thunder with Han Guang. How long has it been since he came back? Hatake Taishuo knelt down on one knee and saluted Sarutobi Hiruzen, and then began to spit and began to speak. He was very emotional. He first talked about Senju Senluo. When he heard the word Senluo, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed dramatically. Immediately thought of a possibility. Danzo sent Senju Senluo to assassinate Han Guang. Senju Senra should be dead. Danzo told Sarutobi Hiruzen, and now it's clear that Danzo lied. Sarutobi Hiruzen guessed wrong. Hatake Taishuo didn't mention that Senju Senluo was going to assassinate. Instead, he mentioned that Senju Senluo fought side by side with Hengguang and was killed by the demigod Hanzo in the Valley of the End, and a Megakure Anbu Captain Yan died in the hands of Hengguang. Matter is not complicated, but Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed several times. Han Guang actually has the strength to kill Hanzo. This is the most important information that Sarutobi Hiruzen got. He knows very well what strength Hanzo is. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen has improved in strength in recent years and has developed several powerful ninjutsu, he dare not say that he will definitely be able to defeat Hanzo. Cold light. Lord Hengguang was heartbroken when he saw Senluo's death in battle, so he used a forbidden technique to improve his strength. The smoke that was killed first, Hanzo saw that something was wrong and fled in embarrassment. Lord Hengguang chased and killed him all the way out of the Valley of the End. Quote. Hatake Taishuo finally said, "My subordinates tried to find Lord Hengguang, but they didn't find it." After listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen, he didn't say a word for a while. His face was sometimes gloomy and terrifying, sometimes excited, and sometimes complicated. "Go and rest, I'll handle it." Sarutobi Hiruzen finally raised his hand and said. Hatake Taishuo left. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked out the window again. Call Danzo over. Yes. A cold response came from outside the window. After a while, Hanzo appeared in the office with a cold breath and a mask. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly turned his head and asked, "You asked Senluo to kill Han Guang?" Chapter-601 Danzo Defection _ Danzo was already mentally prepared. He asked Senluo to kill Han Guang, but he did not let Senluo kill others. So as long as Han Guang died, even if Senluo died with him, the other ninjas on the mission would come back to report the situation. It is impossible to hide it. A ninja as powerful as Han Guang, who wants to assassinate quietly, is simply impossible. Hiruzen, Do you think I'm more important, or is the cold light more important? Danzo asked in a calm voice, not calling Hokage, indicating that he was asking this question in a private capacity. You admit it. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes, his face gloomy and terrifying. I have an irreconcilable blood feud with Han Guang. You should understand that the reason why I wanted to kill him back then was because he had a problem. I am the leader of the root, and I did nothing wrong. Danzo continued, in this Konoha, there is him. Without me, with me without him, I think you know very well that as long as Hangguang is given a chance, he will definitely kill me. Our final outcome is either his death or my death. When I was born and sweated for Konoha, there is no such person in this world. Yes, I asked Senluo to kill him. What are you going to do with me? Danzo acted like a hobhead. He didn't believe Sarutobi Hiruzen would kill him. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't do that. The two are best friends in private. Danzo is indeed blood and sweat for Konoha's birth and death. His loyalty to Konoha is unquestionable. He is on and off with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen is in the light, known as the greatest Hokage, and Danzo is in the dark, and he takes all the blame. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked a little excited. His eyes were bloodshot, staring at Danzo. There was an eerie silence in the office. The atmosphere was suppressed to ultimate. You go. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his back and looked out the window. Take your people, leave Konoha, go as far as possible, and don't come back. You can't drive me away. Danzo's face changed greatly. Let him go. It was more uncomfortable than killing him directly. I won't leave Konoha. Hangguang is dead. You want to abandon me for a dead person. You should knowing my role in Konoha. Hangguang is just a personal force, and I. Shut up. Sarutobi Hiruzen roared back, eyes bloody Yuhi, as if going mad. Hangguang is not dead. He will definitely kill you when he returns to Konoha. Even Hanzo is no longer his opponent. I can't stop it anymore. He will never let you go. Danzo's face changed drastically and he stayed on the spot. Senrao is dead, but not by Hangguang, but by Hanzo. Hangguang was ambushed by Hanzo when he passed through the Valley of the End. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke quickly, explaining the general situation in simple language. If you don't go, you will die, don't you understand? Sarutobi Hiruzen roared out, already hysterical. Sarutobi Hiruzen is very clear that the only solution to Hangguang's personal feud with Danzo is for him to execute Danzo, because this is the fault of Danzo. If Sarutobi Hiruzen openly protects Danzo, his prestige will surely plummet in the condemnation of public opinion, and establish an unparalleled prestige in the world. Sarutobi Hiruzen used it for 20 years, and to destroy it, one day is enough. In fact, there is another way that is not the solution, that is to let the two duel, which is the most common way to solve personal hatred, but Danzo is not a cold light opponent at all. Danzo's eyes gradually became dull. I see. In the 35th year of Konoha, on April 20th, Danzo, the assistant of Konoha Hokage and the leader of the Root Organization, launched a rebellion in the village of Konoha with most of the members of the Root Organization, and then fled with injuries. The Hokage building was more than half destroyed in the rebellion battle. The third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was angry. Konoha was a sensation, and the news quickly spread throughout the ninja world. On the afternoon of the same day, Sarutobi Hiruzen held an emergency meeting, at which a Super S-Class wanted notice was issued, and a reward of 30 million taels was offered to capture Danzo. The northwest frontier of the Fire Nation, the war zone between the Rain Nation and the Fire Nation. It is already dusk, and the ruined forest is quite desolate and lonely under the afterglow of the setting sun. There has just been a war here. The forest and trees within a radius of more than 10 kilometers have been destroyed, the rocks collapsed, the rivers were diverted, and the ground was full of anxiety. Cracks everywhere. Damn! The blood-covered figure knelt on one knee in the huge pit, bit Kiba and cursed, slowly standing upright. Lu Han, Han Guang, has gray hair. This is the sequelae of using angry blood boiling as a powerful subversive's exclusive ability. Angry blood boiling is not only harsh to activate, but also causes great damage to the body when used. It will burn quickly and turn into energy. If someone can see his blood volume bar, they will find that his blood volume bar is fluctuating, and his blood volume is reduced due to burning blood, but his blood production ability is extremely powerful. Some blood is lost, and some will soon be made. This is the apparent damage, as well as the potential damage, which is overdrawing the subversive's recovery potential. Lu Han can only maintain a state of anger and blood for at most 7 hours. At the 7th hour, his hair will turn white, and his body's potential to recover from injuries is severely weakened, so he can't keep up with the speed of blood loss. Diet 0. 7 hours of rage and blood, and then another 7 hours of recovery period. After the recovery period is over, Lu Han's recovery potential can return to normal levels. He has been chasing and killing Hanzo. He has used the angry blood state twice, and there is a recovery period in the middle. Lu Han, who is in the recovery period, has greatly reduced his strength, but Hanzo has been scared by him, so he knows to run, but he does not. When Lu Han was recovering, he counterattacked him. In fact, it was useless to counterattack. Hanzo couldn't get close to Lu Han, who was the master Hiraishin. He let Hanzo run away again. This guy's ability to escape is superb, but for some reason, every time he disappears before and after Lu Han, he always leaves some clues so that Lu Han can continue to hunt him down. Lu Han guessed that he wanted to introduce yourself into the land of rain, and then use the power of the Legion to kill yourself. Lu Han is fearless. Sen Luo's revenge must be avenged. Even if Hanzo escaped back to a Megakure village, he would try to break in. Chapter 0614-Shocking the Ninja World. 3 days later, a piece of explosive news spread throughout the entire ninja world at a lightning speed. Konoha Hokage assisted Danzo to defect. The whole ninja world was in a commotion, even an uproar. They couldn't understand, why did Danzo betray Konoha? Also the right-hand man of the second generation of Hokage Senju Tobarama, Danzo can be said to be the right-hand man of the third generation of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the best assistant. He has a pivotal position in the entire ninja world, and is known for his loyalty to Konoha and his ability to take the blame. What reason does he have to betray Konoha? The other 4 ninja villages in the 5 major ninja villages all moved after hearing the news. Even the Kurigakure village in the country of water, which did not participate in the Ninja World War, sent a large number of strong people to look for Danzo. Konoha has issued a Super S-Class wanted notice and offered a bounty of up to 30 million taels. However, the major forces are looking for Danzo, not to kill him, or to capture him and send him back to Konoha, but to win him over. Danzo's personal abilities aside, let's talk about the information of his master. He knows everything about Konoha. He knows all the secrets of Konoha. It can be said that whoever can find Danzo can find the weakness of Konoha village. Danzo became the focus of the entire ninja world. However, just 2 more days later, an even more explosive piece of news overshadowed the impact of Danzo's defection. On April 19, the 35th year of Konoha, the demigod Hanzo and the villagers of Megakure went out to ambush Captain Hengwang of Konoha Anbu in the End Valley of the Fire Country. The powerhouses, including the Anbu captain of Megakure village with the invincible legend, also died in this battle and were killed by Hengwang himself, and only one person died in Hengwang. He was a mysterious powerhouse from the Konoha Anbu root organization. The technique defeated Hanzo. Hanzo fled in the chaos, and the cold light chased and killed. The 2 disappeared that night. The whole ninja world is boiling. Sensation. Unprecedented sensation. Of the Megakure village nicknamed Sanjiu, and respected as a demigod, has not been defeated for more than 10 years. Second only to the god of ninjas Senju Hashirama and a generation of madmen Uchiha Madara. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also very strong, but Sarutobi Hiruzen is Hokage. The prosperity of Konoha village makes Sarutobi Hiruzen strong, and Hanzo. He grew up in the country of rain, which is always in war and chaos, and the harsh environment and lack of resources make his growth path more than the other top powerhouses in the world or much more rugged. The power of Sarutobi Hiruzen is taken for granted. He was chosen by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama. He succeeded Hokage at a young age. The most powerful ninja village in the world provided him with enough training resources. Forbidden technique he can look at will, from the inheritance of Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama, making his growth path smooth. What does Hanzo have? He has nothing. Compared with the third-generation Raikage, compared to the third-generation Tsuchikage Onoki or the third-generation Kazekage, he did not have the inheritance of a strong ninja village. Secondly, he did not have rich resources, and thirdly, he did not have the guidance of famous teachers, but he still stood side by side with these people and was revered by the world. This is why Hanzo is demigod, and they are not. Amid the rise and adversity, the fierce name deceives the world. This is Hanzo. He is a myth, awe-inspiring, terrifying. However, this myth seems to be coming to an end. A more dazzling name has replaced him. Cold Light, Konoha Cold Light. It took Hatake Sakumo several years to carry out countless dangerous missions, and he was born into death and fought bloody battles again and again before spreading the name of Konoha White Fang throughout the entire ninja world, while Konoha Hengwang only spent one night and only did one thing, so that the entire ninja world, from the strong ninja to the commoners, all know Akatsuki's name. It is rumored that Hongwang is the husband of the medical saint Tsunade, not just Captain Anbu. He has the prestige second only to Sarutobi Hiruzen in Konoha. Rumored that Sarutobi Hiruzen has long set Hengwang as a candidate for the next generation of Hokage, and devoted all his efforts to cultivating. Rumor has it that Hengwang has not been out of Konoha for 3 years. He is dormant and cultivating, in order to be a blockbuster today. To rumors, Hongwang is very talented. He knew 1,000 words at the age of 1, entered the practice at the age of 3, became a genin at the age of 5, and became the captain of Anbu at the age of 14. He is only 17 years old. Too many rumors about the Cold Light are spreading wildly in the whole ninja world. Some are true and some false, and some people who are interested have already smelled the conspiracy. Sarutobi Hiruzen made a public speech on the 6th day after Henko and Hanzo disappeared, strongly condemning Hanzo's ambush for Henko, and urged a Megakure village to surrender unconditionally as soon as possible, otherwise the Konoha Corps would level a Megakure village. On the day Sarutobi Hiruzen delivered his speech, the military mobilization orders he issued were also sent to the various legions. In the Land of Rain, Konoha's 4 main battle legions, except the 1st Legion still sticking to the battlefield, the other 3 legions also sent to the army. Enter the village of a Megakure. This is threatening the village of a Megakure. Konoha's 3 major legions of 5,000 ninjas did not level the strength of a Megakure village. So Sarutobi Hiruzen is just threatening, or diverting. He had already calculated that as long as Hanzo didn't die, he would flee back to the Land of Rain and use the power of the Megakure Legion to fight against the Cold Light, so Sarutobi Hiruzen sent the Legion to contain him, preventing Hanzo from mobilizing too many people. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know where Hongwang was, and he couldn't even confirm that Hongwang was still alive, but he still did it and supported Hongwang in this way, because he had already seen in Hongwang the hope of ending the Ninja World War. Hanzo is out. He is not Hongwang's opponent. Hongwang is chasing him. As long as Hanzo dies, the village of a Megakure may be torn apart, the alliance between a Megakure and Sunagakure will fall apart, and the village of Sunagakure already has the intention of seeking peace. The Ninja World War is likely to end as a result. Konoha, the quickly repaired Hokage building, by the window. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked out the window, looking at the slowly setting sun, and muttered to himself, Hengwang, don't let me down. Chapter-601-620 Generations of Kazekage. On the 6th day of Lu Han's pursuit of Hanzo, on the northwestern border of the Land of Fire, the low mountain range was like a python lying in the vast forest. 6 days later, Hanzo still hadn't escaped back to the Land of Rain. It wasn't that he didn't want to go back, but that he was on the way to escape. Lu Han simply didn't allow him to walk in a straight line. With enough clues to follow, he would be caught up by Lu Han every time, fight a fight, and then escape. The two circled in the northwest area of the Land of Fire. Until today, he was finally going back to the Land of Rain. This mountain range was less than 30 kilometers away from the southeastern border of the Land of Rain. Inside a dark cave, Hanzo was sitting cross-legged on the dry grass, his breath fluctuated, and he was healing. Clothed ninjas wearing hats stood respectfully. The hats were still dripping. 2 hours ago, Hanzo's psychic beast Sanjiao found them and led them to see Hanzo. The two black-clothed ninjas waited for a long time, and Hanzo's breath finally recovered. He slowly opened his eyes, glanced at the two black-clothed ninjas, and said, "Have you brought an empty scroll?" The tall and thin black-clothed ninja standing on the left immediately stepped forward, took out a few scrolls from his arms, and handed them to Hanzo. Hanzo wrote the contents on the two scrolls, sealed them, and then handed the two scrolls to the two black-clothed ninjas, and said, "Lackey, go back to the village and send the scrolls to Anbu. Fangma, you go to the country of wind and hand over the scroll to Kage, the third generation of eyes, hurry up." Yes. The two black-clothed ninjas respectfully obeyed, and then disappeared into the cave. Hanzo stood up and disappeared. The southernmost point of the mountain range, the cliff. Hanzo appeared out of thin air, holding a sickle in his hand, looking to the southeast, a cruel smile evoked at the corner of his mouth. The two black-clothed ninjas had told him just now that there were two sensational events in the ninja world recently. One was that Danzo defected from Konoha, and the other was that Hengguang defeated Hanzo. There are already rumors that Hanzo has fallen and was beheaded by Hengguang, and some people say that a generation of demigods has a false reputation and was defeated by the younger generation, and it seems that there is no place to die. Hanzo scoffed at this. He admits that he is not as good as the cold light in the state of forbidden technique, but he believes that it must be the cold light that will die in the end. To this end, he has already made sufficient arrangements. In fact, if he hadn't wanted to kill Hengguang and took the initiative to leave clues that could be traced, he wouldn't have been hunted down to this day, and he would have fled back to a Megakure village long ago. Hanzo is not reconciled. He was unwilling to have his reputation ruined like this. If he just went back to a Megakure village like this, it would be tantamount to admitting that he had failed completely. He couldn't accept such a failure. Therefore, he has made up his mind to not kill Hengguang and never return to a Megakure village. Now to the outside world, both of them are in a state of disappearance. Although some ninjas have found traces of the battle between the two, no one has ever seen the two of them again. And as long as Hanzo can kill Hengguang, he will immediately regain his name as a demigod, even before his prestige is even better. Hanzo disappeared on the cliff. Just over 10 minutes later, a whirlwind rolled up on the cliff, and Luhan appeared out of thin air. His clothes were tattered and stained with dried blood. He looked a little embarrassed. In fact, he had spare clothes in his space backpack. No trouble, but he was too lazy to do it. "Damn it, I see what other tricks you have." Luhan opened the insight map and looked at it, then disappeared on the cliff. 2 days later, Sunagakure Village, Land of Winds. A third-generation head with dark blue hair stood by the window, dragging the scroll in his hand, frowning and watching. Behind him, the Anbu ninja of a Megakure village codenamed Fangma stood with his head bowed. Fangma is an elite Jonin, especially good at speed. It took him 2 days to rush to Sunagakure village, and he was so tired that he almost vomited blood before handing Hanzo's handwritten letter to Kage, the third generation of eyes. Hanzo invites Kage, the third generation, to kill Hengguang together. In the letter, Hanzo can be said to be Akatsuki's reasoning and emotional, and the pros and cons are very clearly analyzed. For the third generation of Kage, he should not have participated in this matter. Sitting on the mountain and watching tigers fight is the kingly way. If he assists Hanzo to kill Hengguang, it will inevitably trigger Konoha's crazy counterattack. Sunagakure village is about to be dragged down by this war, and Kage, the third generation, has already thought of ending the war. However, Hanzo's ability to speak eloquently is extremely outstanding. He explained how threatening the existence of Hengguang is, and even compares Hangwang to the next god of ninja world, but unlike Senju Hashirama, Hangwang has no kind heart, and he has a flamboyant personality. Ruthless, it is the martial arts faction. It has long been rumored that Hangwang will take over the position of Hokage in the future, and Hanzo also said that once Hangwang becomes Hokage, it will definitely make life in the ninja world ruined, and he has the ambition to rule the ninja world. Hanzo described Hangwang as an unprecedented threat, and expounded from the perspective of the overall situation, how terrifying the fact that the Hangwang possessed Konoha. The balance of the victory of the Ninja World War has been tilted towards the village of Konoha, and Hangwang is a very important part of it. Once Sunagakur village is defeated, the war reparations will definitely make the whole country of Wind vomit blood. For Sunagakur village, a better outcome than defeat would be a truce after the parties reached an agreement. In this way, there will be no sky-high war reparations. The end. Hanzo made a promise to Kazekage, the third generation, that after killing Hangwang, Hanzo would like to bear the consequences of killing Hangwang alone. The outside world would not know that the third generation of Akatsuki Kazekage was also involved. Hanzo wanted fame, and Kazekage wanted stability. This is to the benefit of both parties. 3 generations of Kazekage read the letter over and over a dozen times. After destroying the scroll, he thought for an hour before making a decision. "Tell Ebizo to come here," Kazekage 3 said to the door. Not long after, a tall middle-aged man with a sash wrapped around his head came into the room. Ebizo, Chiyo's younger brother, the puppet master, and the high-level advisor of Sunagakur village. "I'm going to visit the frontline battlefield." Kazekage 3 turned around to look at Ebizo and said, "While I'm away, you temporarily manage the affairs of the village for me." Chapter-601-620 Yuhi Rock Mine. Ebizo was very suspicious. "My lord, it is the critical stage of the war. If you go to the front line to supervise the battle, you will likely be targeted, and if you are not guarding the village, if something goes wrong, I'm afraid." "It doesn't matter, you are fully responsible for everything in the village," Kazekage the third generation said. Ebizo is a well-known wise man in Sunagakur village, good at planning and strategy, and has a great view of the overall situation. "It won't take long, as short as 4 or 5 days, as long as 7 or 8 days, I will definitely come back, that's it." "Lord Kazekage, did something happen to the Rain country?" Ebizo was puzzled. How could Kazekage suddenly decide to go to the frontline battlefield? There was no sign. Since the wind horse sent by Hanzo to pass the message has already been taken to rest in that row, Ebizo has no way of seeing anyone, so he has no way of guessing. There will definitely be some changes in the country of the Rain recently. I will go and see it myself so that I can prepare when I come back. Kazekage, the third generation of eyes, said vaguely, and then ordered, "I am leaving, you should not publicize it, if anyone asks about it. Say I am in retreat not far from the village." "Yes." Ebizo immediately took the order, and he also knew the possible consequences of Kazekage's absence from the village once known to the outside world. After arranging everything, the third generation Kazekage found Fengma again and secretly left Sunagakur village with him. After only half a day of driving, the third generation Kazekage became impatient. Fengma was already fast, but in his opinion it could be said that very slow. He shook off the wind horse and drove at full speed. At noon on the second day, he entered the territory of the Land of Rain. Since he was secretly assisting Hanzo, he didn't want to be known that he was involved in killing Han Guang, so he didn't notify anyone. No one saw him. Bypassing the Sunagakur core station, before dusk, he arrived at the designated location that Hanzo had promised Yuhi Rock Mine. The Land of Rain is a country rich in resources. The reason for the perennial war here is that there are too many resources. Yuhi, there are more than 100 mines that have been discovered in the Land of Rain, many of which have been destroyed in the Sengoku era. Discovery has been mined now. The Yuhi Rock Mine is one such mine that was abandoned due to mining, and it is located in the Togo jungle in the southern part of the Rainland. Poison Jade Jungle is a dangerous place in the country of Rain. There are not too powerful wild ninja beasts in the jungle, but there are countless poisonous insects. Not to mention that ordinary people will not come here, even if they are ninjas, their strength is not as strong as Jonin. Will not easily set foot here. The Ninja World War has been fought for several years. The country of Rain, which is the core battlefield, has been riddled with holes, but the poisonous jungle has not been destroyed. Medical ninjas, no one really likes this place, they can't avoid it. Yuhi Rock Mine. 3 generations of Kazekage stood in the abandoned mine on the half-mountain wall, looking at the jungle outside the mine, his eyes were uncertain. At this moment, there were 21 ninjas in black robes standing behind him. All of them were from Omegakure Anbu. They came here to wait for the 3rd generation Kazekage after receiving a secret order from Hanzo. Hanzo's plan brought cold light to the Yuhi Rock Mine. Omegakure Anbu will besiege Hangguang, and the 3rd generation Kazekage hides among the members of Omegakure Anbu, waiting for an opportunity to attack Hangguang. Yuhi Rock Mine is not a good place. It is not easy to enter or exit here. Unless you can fly, Kazekage, the 3rd generation, has some doubts about Hanzo's plan. If he is also seriously injured after killing Hangguang, will Hanzo treat himself? Where to start? And then put the blame on Hangguang, claiming that Hangguang and Kazekage of the 3rd generation will perish together, and led Konoha's focus to Sunagakure village. Hanzo can definitely do this kind of thing. I just don't know if he won't do it. Lord Kazekage, I have wronged you. Anbu ninja from Omegakure village said respectfully, shook the robe on his hand, and handed it to Kazekage, the 3rd generation. Kazekage the 3rd generation looked at the robe, then reached out to take it, quickly put it on, and put on the hat and mask. His appearance looks indistinguishable from Omegakure Anbu ninja. He has already come, so there is no reason to go back immediately. Although a little worried, Kazekage, the 3rd generation of his dignified eyes, the strongest in the ninja world, naturally won't be timid when he does things, and it's not the time to back down. Night falls silently. 3rd generation of Kazekage returned to the cave in the mine. The fire rose, he ate something, and then found a corner to rest, half awake and waited all night. The next morning, he seemed to feel something. Suddenly opening his eyes, he rolled over and stood up. Hanzo, ragged and covered in blood, was standing beside the burnt-out fire, dripping from his body, as if he had just entered the cave. 3rd generation of Kazekage was really taken aback by Hanzo's appearance. It looked too miserable. When did the demigods feel so embarrassed? Judging from the layers of dried blood on Hanzo's body, he was injured more than once, and every time he was injured. Very heavy. Is it the cold light? 3rd generation of Kazekage paid more attention to Hangguang, and his murderous intention became more determined. The existence of Hangguang is a scourge to Sunagakure and even the entire ninja world, and it must be eliminated. 21 Omegakure Anbu ninjas are also in the cave. 3rd generation of Kazekage and Hanzo were not polite and went straight to the theme. He's already here, Kazekage 3 asked. Yeah, Hanzo nodded, his expression a little dignified. I'm guessing that he will come over in 10 minutes. Be careful, this kid is weird, he relies on a forbidden technique to beat me by a few points. This forbidden technique damages the body very much. Many times, his hair turns white due to excessive use of forbidden technique. I thought this forbidden technique would drag him down. He used it very frequently, but it didn't. He always recovered. Forbidden technique. Kazecage's eyes flashed. This guy is very difficult to deal with. You are not good at weapons, so don't engage him in close combat. Hanzo reminded. 3rd generation Kazekage laughed suddenly, looked down at Hanzo a little, and said, you and I are here, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen comes in person, we can join hands to kill, just cold light. Is he stronger than Sarutobi Hiruzen? Chapter-601-620 advice. You'd better be more cautious. I'm not sure whether Hangguang is stronger than Sarutobi Hiruzen. I haven't played against Sarutobi Hiruzen for many years, but the cold light in the forbidden technique state is really terrible. Said, his swordsmanship is self-contained, fast and skillful. Fortunately, his use of Hiraishin's technique is not as good as that of Hokage, the second generation of the year. Otherwise, we are really not his opponents. I will naturally be cautious, you can rest assured on this point, but I think your worries are too much. If you and I join forces, he will surely die. The third generation Hokage seemed extremely confident. The two came to the entrance of the cave and looked at the poisonous forest outside the mine. Other Omegakure Anbu ninjas followed behind, and Hokage 3 was dressed in the same way as them, so even if someone appeared here and saw them, they wouldn't think that the person beside Hanzo was Hokage 3. Hangguang's Mangekyo Sharingan has a very special ability. I can only confirm the ability of his left eye. It is a ninjutsu rebound. His Susanoo is not very strong, and it is not difficult to break through. The most terrible thing about him is swordsmanship, especially in the state of forbidden technique. His swordsmanship strength will be improved several times. I have never seen him perform ninjutsu in the state of forbidden technique. This is probably a limitation. He cannot perform ninjutsu in the state of forbidden technique. But not entirely sure. Hokage the third generation about the characteristics of Hangguang, and Hokage listened very carefully, but these should be kept in mind. By the way, Hangguang also cast futon, wind-style, flower rain cutting technique on me instantly. Hanzo said, glancing at Hokage, the third generation of eyes. The technique of cutting flowers and rain is one of the forbidden techniques in Sunagakure village. Since the chakra consumption will be excessive in the process of casting, it will damage the ninja meridians, and there is also the danger of running out of chakra, so people who have learned this technique in Sunagakure village do not much. Before the cold light, this technique has never been rumored. Flower rain cut. Hokage, the third generation of eyes, frowned for an instant hair. His tone was already unbelievable. It's absolutely true. Hanzo's voice was heavy. I almost died under the attack of this technique, if I hadn't dodged quickly. But it's very strange. These few days, Hangguang and I have been running and stopping, hitting a lot. In more than a dozen games, he only used the instant flower and rain cutting technique on me once. If he used this ultimate move a few more times, I might have died. It seems that this should be a special ability, which is reserved for re-engraving. Or is it using a sealed scroll? Hokage said. I think so too, Hanzo said. However, there's no guarantee that he won't use it a second time. You have to pay attention to this, don't. Humph. Hokage, the third generation of eyes, interrupted Hanzo's words with a cold snort. A supreme power has strong autonomy and self-esteem. Hanzo kept admonishing him, making nature annoyed. You are really scared by the cold light. Even if he can do it again, you can dodge it, but I can't dodge it. Hanzo's face darkened, and he didn't say anything. In fact, he didn't care about the life and death of Hokage 3. Although Hokage 3 was an ally, it would be good to die with Hangguang, and it was not necessarily a bad thing. Fight to your death. Although Konoha is the strongest, Sunagakure is not bad either. If Sunagakure village really has the will to take revenge for Hokage and fight against Konoha with all his strength, Konoha may not be able to take much advantage. Hanzo is really worried about is that if the third generation of Hokage dies, Hangguang is not only not dead, but also not seriously injured. What should I do? Although the probability of such a thing happening is very small, there are too many magical things about Hangguang, and Hanzo has to guard against it. Sir, he's here. A low voice came from behind Hanzo. The person who spoke was code-named Poison Jay. That's right, the Poison Jay of the Poison Jay Forest. The reason why he has such a code name is because of his master's secret technique for controlling poisonous insects. The Aburame family of Konoha is good at controlling insects, and the ability of Poison Jay is completely different from them. The Aburame family feeds the bugs with their own chakra and keeps the bugs in the body, while the Poison Jay uses secret techniques to trigger a special sound wave frequency, to control the wild poisonous insects. He can rely on the poisonous insects to judge what happened in the distant place. Generally, the poisonous insects he controls will become extremely active, and they will never live for more than 3 days, and will exhaust their lives. In the Duje forest, the colorful Madara world is full of exotic flowers and plants, which are very beautiful, but behind the beauty are countless dangers. Luhan appeared on the tree trunk out of thin air, holding a sickle with dried blood in his hand, murderous. Countless poisonous insects are flying in the forest, the humming sound is not heard, centipedes with long arms are climbing on the trees, spiders the size of basins are spinning silk, and colorful beetles are crawling on the grass, as if they are still alive. Unbloomed buds. However, no poisonous insect dared to approach Luhan, and even a highly poisonous winged insect with glowing body flew to Luhan's feet, but flew away immediately, and accidentally bumped into a tree, appearing extremely panicked. There is nothing special about Luhan himself, his breath cannot make all poisonous insects fear, he sprinkled a potion on his body. The formula of this potion comes from Zhaohai. This guy has worked for a Megakure village for more than 10 years and is highly valued by Hanzo. Naturally, he has come to the Pogo forest. He has developed a potion with a smell that can make poisonous insects fear, and this kind of medicine was prepared by Luhan a few years ago, and it has never been used in the space backpack. There are actually 23 people. Luhan looked at the insight map. The big Yuhi point is still Hanzo, and there are 22 small Yuhi points gathered around him. It seems to be more careful. Luhan became cautious. The strength of the Omegakure village should not be underestimated. The shinobi village that can wrestle with Konoha must have some strong people. If Hanzo gathers the strongest people in the village, Luhan will only have to run for his life. Yes, but I don't think so. The Ninja World War is still going on. If Hanzo wants to gather the powerhouses in one place, the other places will be finished. After a few minutes, Luhan, who was running wildly in the forest, stopped abruptly, and the mine was just ahead. Hanzo appeared out of thin air in the distance in front of Luhan. At almost the same time, figures appeared around him. Chapter-601-620 Cage in seconds. Hanzo's clothes were tattered, Luhan's clothes were tattered, Hanzo was covered in blood mist, and Luhan was also covered in blood, also carrying a knife with dried blood. At this moment, the two were very similar. The two of them ran and beat, without sleep, for 7 days, and finally ushered in a decisive battle. Luhan believed that today would be a decisive battle. He had long felt that Hanzo was deliberately leading him to a certain place. The place he wanted to come to was this place, the Yuhi rock mine in the poison forest. This place is very special, inaccessible, and a good place to kill people and bury their bodies. Moreover, Hanzo also found help. Luhan clenched the sword of astonishment, and slowly glanced around. There were 22 helpers. When Luhan saw the 7th person, his heart shook, and he even felt a little incredible. 3 generations of Cage. Why did Cage 3 appear here? Mixed in the Omegakure Anbu ninja does not seem to have anything special. The chakra fluctuations permeating his body are very vague, making it impossible to judge his strength. He hides well, such a terrifying existence. If Luhan really ignored him, he would most likely be attacked to death by him. No need to doubt the strength of Cage, the 3rd generation. He joined forces with Hanzo, and even if Luhan enters the state of burning blood, he is not an opponent. 3rd generation of Cage, known as the strongest Cage in history, bears Kekkei Genkei Jiden magnet style. It has the same rating as Hanzo, a level 70 bronze boss. It turns out that this is Hanzo's trump card. He actually notified Cage to come here. Cage is really here. I don't know whether to live or die. Luhan was not panicked. In fact, if the 3rd generation of Cage showed his identity and made it clear that Hanzo was teaming up, Luhan would probably retreat first, but if the 3rd generation Cage made it clear that he was going to make a sneak attack, the sneak attack must be very close to Luhan. On the surface, Luhan didn't change anything, he just looked around and looked at Hanzo again. What about your forbidden technique? Without forbidden technique, you can't beat me, you will be killed by us. Hanzo stared at Luhan and said coldly, sounding like he was mocking Luhan for relying on forbidden technique, but in fact, he was provoking Luhan. I hope Lu Han can enter the forbidden technique state immediately. After Hanzo's observation, he concluded that the cold light of the forbidden technique state cannot use ninjutsu. So Hanzo really hoped that Lu Han would immediately enter the forbidden technique state, so that it would be easy for the third-generation Hokage to sneak attack on him. With so many people hitting me, even if you win, you won't be able to win. Lu Han slowly moved the direction of the knife tip. His voice was cold and emotionless. Hanzo, you don't dare to be upright with me. Is there a war? People who are dying, take advantage of their words. Hengguang, you are just like that. Having been with Lu Han for a long time, Hanzo's mouth cannon skills are obviously good. Ha! Lu Leng laughed. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his whole body, his figure disappeared instantly, and he moved at a super-fast speed and reached the side of an Omegakure Anbu ninja in the blink of an eye. Omegakure Anbu ninja who was operated on by Lu Han, code-named Kingli. Third generation of Hokage is 7 meters away from the west side of Kingli. Kingli is not weak. As an Omegakure Anbu ninja, he has an inhuman will, very much like a Konoha root ninja. Even if Hanzo asks him to die, he will do it. When Lu Han came, he was fearless. Maybe he knew that he was not Han Guang's opponent. He was shocked, and the dark curse mark appeared on his body in an instant. When Lu Han slashed it, he didn't dodge or dodge. Poochie. Blood splattered, and this knife slashed Kangli's body from the middle, directly dividing it into 2 halves. At the same time when Kangli died, a black light erupted from the curse imprint on his body. More than 10 curse imprint chains sprinted out from the black light and attached to Lu Han's body. Lu Han could not hide, because the forbidden technique performed by Kangli was a after death, it will inevitably backlash, and whoever kills him will backlash. This forbidden technique would make Kangli unable to move, which would backfire on Lu Han, because Lu Han was several series stronger than Kangli, so it wasn't that he couldn't move at all, but it was difficult to move and he lost his agility. Third generation of Hokage seized the opportunity. He didn't expect the opportunity to come so quickly, but as a superpower, his sense of war is keen. When Lu Han killed Kangli, he happened to have his back turned to Hokage, the third generation. Immediately after the curse seal chain wrapped around Lu Han, Hokage, the third generation eye, flashed behind Lu Han, raised his hands at the same time, and 2 strands of iron sand flew out from his sleeves, which condensed into 2 extremely sharp iron on his hands. The thorns, one hit the back of Lu Han's head, and the other hit the back of Lu Han's heart. A terrible sense of crisis enveloped Lu Han. Are you here? Lu Han murmured in his heart. At this moment, Lu Han triggered the magic ring on his finger. Boom, chirps _. Time seemed to slow down. The iron thorn had already touched the back of Lu Han's head and heart, and was about to pierce, but Hokage's expression became frightened, his eyes slowly widened, he opened his mouth and seemed to want to shout something. He felt the chakra of the rain-cutting technique fluctuated, and more iron sand had flown out of his sleeves. He wanted to form a hard structure that could be defended, but it was too late. Instant futon, wind-style, flower rain-cutting technique. Beautiful and huge lotus, blooming. Third generation Hokage bore the brunt of the brunt, and was torn into minced flesh by thousands of wind blades. The minced meat had not yet landed, and was torn into blood mist by the next wind blades. The golden light that only Lu Han could see was in the third generation eyes. The place where Hokage died was shining like fireworks. There should be a soundtrack at this moment, but no, there were only hundreds of falling objects of various shapes, rushing into the sky, and turning into a streamer and drilling into Lu Han's body. Countless wind blades raged in all directions, big trees were destroyed, and the earth was torn apart into ravines. Within a radius of dozens of meters, Lu Han became a dead zone. In a short time, the wind stopped and the sound disappeared, and everything was calm. Only 4 people were killed in total, 3 to be precise, plus a corpse that was cut in half. The others were farther away, and although they were also within Yuki's attack range, they had the opportunity to dodge. However, Lu Han had already killed the most important person. 3 generations of Hokage, die. Lu Han turned to look at Hanzo. Hanzo, who hid in a tree in the distance, looked bewildered by Lu Han. Chapter-619-Ghostly Captured. Ding! Congratulations to Subversive for his first kill of a level 70 bronze boss. The reverberation of the first kill had not yet dissipated in Lu Han's ears, and the atmosphere in the Poison Jay Forest had been suppressed to ultimate, as if it was about to freeze. Powerful, the third generation of Kage just died. He died too quickly, without the slightest drag, and he didn't even have time to scream before he died. Humans are inherently dead, but the method of death is very important. The difference between Taishan and Hongmao, Hanzo felt worthless for the third generation Kage, and even had a feeling of grief of the death of a rabbit and a fox. He didn't die from being beaten head-on in a dignified manner. Instead, they were born and died. Hanzo has seen through everything. Before the third generation of Kage died, he didn't notice Lu Han's abnormality. It wasn't until the flower and rain cutting technique broke out that he realized that this was a trap in itself. The person is the third generation of Kage, so he showed his back to him, deliberately selling flaws, to attract the third generation of Kage to approach. Hanzo still couldn't accept this fact. Megakure Anbu ninjas who were still alive couldn't accept it. They had all been brutally tempered to have steel-like wills, but they were a little scared at the moment. Third generation Kage, it's a pity to die, although I killed him. Lu Leng coldly said. You have already made a big disaster. He is the strongest Kage, the prestige in Sunagakure village is the first in history. No one can match it. If you kill him, Sunagakure village will definitely launch a crazy revenge. Hanzo said with a black face, you don't deserve to kill him at all. This logic is a little shameless. What is worthy or not, war is all about life and death. Let's not talk nonsense, Hanzo, I will hunt you down for 7 days without rest, and the journey will not be less than 10,000 miles. Today, this is your burial place. Boom. Lu Han's body erupted with strange and terrifying chakra fluctuations, blood mist filled his body, and his long hair moved without wind. Anger state. Call. Lu Han disappeared like the wind. Megakure lore order, target cold light. Hanzo shouted in surprise, and at the same time he retreated backwards. Megakure Anbu usually launches suicide attacks when he gets a lore warrant. Lu Han suddenly appeared behind an Megakure Anbu ninja, and the gorilla Yuhi flashed by, cutting the ninja in the middle, and then disappeared again, killing the little minions first. Although Lu Han is stronger than Hanzo, it is difficult to quickly defeating it. He didn't want someone to keep harassing and causing trouble for himself when he fought Hanzo. Lu Han killed 4 people at a very fast speed, but Hanzo never came to stop him. When Lu Han planned to have the 5th person. This ninja was tall and thin, code-named Black Bamboo, and he quickly completed the hand seal. There were 2 ninjas beside him. At the same time as he completed the hand seal, the 2 ninjas were all cut with knives. On his neck, Heiju instantly grabbed their blood-spitting necks, and a huge blood-colored phantom suddenly appeared behind them. Secret technique ghost struggle time. Lu Han had already rushed in front of him, and he couldn't help being startled. He could sense that the blurry blood-colored phantom that appeared behind Heiju should be a god, similar to the god of death or the evil god. Heiju raised his head and let out a shrill howl, his hair quickly turned gray, and the whole person was rapidly aging as visible to the naked eye. Offering Matsuri. This secret method can only be activated at the cost of death, and it is not one person who needs to offer Matsuri, but 3 people. Lu Han's thoughts turned 1,000 times. Everything happened in an instant. A feeling of space freezing had enveloped Lu Han. The bloody phantom vomited blood. It was real light. The speed of light is more than 300,000 per second. Kilometer, even a god, can't avoid the light, and neither can Lu Han. The blood light hit Lu Han's right hand holding the knife, and the burning sensation brought severe pain. At this moment, Lu Han felt that his right hand seemed to disappear, and the pain replaced the existence of his right hand in Lu Han's perception. His right hand was still subconscious. He was holding the sword of astonishment, but he couldn't move any longer, as if he was stiff. Damn, this technique. Lu Han moved away. Ha ha ha, how does it taste? This is the forbidden technique that I researched based on ghouls. Although there are many drawbacks, activating this technique requires at least 3 elite Jonins from Matsuri, and even if it is not activated, as long as you practice this technique, you will be alive. It's only 10 years. Ha ha ha, Han Guang, you're done, this technique is useless. Hanzo appeared behind Lu Han with a mad laugh, and started chasing after Lu Han. You can't live for 10 years by practicing this technique. As a developer, why are you still alive? Lu Han asked calmly. I naturally have my method, ha ha ha. Hanzo laughed wildly again, and he was extremely excited when he finally saw the opportunity to kill Han Guang. Lu Han can imagine that the method Hanzo said must be extremely cruel. This guy can do anything. Lu Han moved frantically, with blood and energy, only a very vague phantom was left, and only Hanzo was present to accurately capture Lu Han's movement trajectory. Approaching Lu Han again and again, not at all worried that Lu Han will use the technique of cutting flowers and rain again. While dodging continuously, Lu Han asked the elf if the potion could eliminate this damage, and the answer was no. There is only one way left. Lu Han dodged again, and immediately held the sword of Jinghong in his left hand, which was held rigidly in his right hand, and replaced the right-handed knife with a left-handed knife. Lu Han is good at using his right-handed knife. Originally, he could use both hands, but in recent years he has retreat practice, basically use the right hand. The right-hand knife is several levels stronger than the left-hand knife. What's worse, his right hand is abolished, unable to hand seal. Ha ha ha, Han Guang, today is your day of death. Hanzo rushed to Lu Han again, the guy couldn't stop laughing. Ha, Lu Lang laughed and waved his knife decisively. With a kai, he cut off his right hand at the elbow, and Bai Sensen's stubble was exposed, bleeding profusely, and the burning pain disappeared. It's the pain of a broken arm. Ha ha ha, that's enough. I would rather be disabled than bear this kind of pain. You really are. You, Hanzomoto was still laughing, his face changed drastically in vain. I saw that Lu Han's right arm was growing rapidly, visible to the naked eye. Reborn from a severed limb. Chapter 0620-spoiler. As a subversive, Lu Han is not afraid of the damage of body loss. Partial seals cannot pose a real threat to him. In fact, even if he is cut in half, he can grow back, not to mention the broken forearm. Kind of injury. Damn it, Hanzo scolded, a little exasperated. Healing an injury and being reborn from a broken limb are two completely different concepts. Lu Han's right arm is growing rapidly, and it seems that it will take some time to fully recover. Kill him, quick, Hanzo shouted angrily. We're still 11 Anbu ninjas from a Megakure village. They received Hanzo's instructions once again, and they all rushed towards Lu Han without fear of death. Lu Han's right hand hasn't recovered yet, so he's not suitable for fighting with others, but his speed is incomparable to everyone in the field, and he can't win temporarily, so he can hide. The figure with the blood of the orangutan Yuhi turned into a glimpse and rushed into the dense forest in the southwest. Fleeing frantically, although Hanzo and the others chased after him with all their strength, trying to surround Lu Han, they couldn't do it at all. In just 2 minutes, Lu Han fled for several kilometers in the Duge forest, and his right hand finally finished growing. At the same time, due to the difference in speed, the distance between those Megakure Anbu ninjas and Lu Han, as well as their location, were not the same. The blade of Jinghong changed his left hand to his right, and turned around to face the enemy closest to him. The body is like a ghost, the sword light is like a rainbow. This is a season for killing. This game of death and death has become Lu Han's unilateral hunting, no one is his opponent alone. Although some Megakure Anbu ninjas will desperately release the forbidden technique and cause some trouble for Lu Han, it is not impossible. Solve. One after another a Megakure Anbu ninja fell. At the beginning, Hanzo also attacked Lu Han many times. After that, he became more and more cautious in his actions. He was already afraid. Without these desperate men, he would not be Lu Han's opponent at all. It has been verified repeatedly for 7 days. 13 minutes and 36 seconds. Luhan killed all the Omegakure Anbu ninjas, and Hanzo became the bear commander. Finally got to take Hanzo to open the knife. However, Hanzo did not choose to fight with Luhan again, but chose to run away. This is not the first time he has done this, and he is familiar with it. After escaping and chasing, the two began to draw circles in the Poison Jay forest. Hanzo did not want to escape from the Poison Jay forest, but the forest here was too dense, the terrain was too complicated, and the densely packed poisonous insects covered the sky and the sun was in a panic. It is easy to judge the wrong direction, and Luhan will always stop him. Hanzo originally wanted to use the Poison Jay forest to trapped Luhan and not give Luhan a chance to escape, but now, it is he who is trapped. There was a constant roar in the forest. After half an hour, there was a river in the Dugo forest a few decades ago, and about 10 years ago, due to the collapse of the Yuhi rock mine, the river was diverted into the underground river, and the river was also dried up. The river that has been dried up for 10 years is only left. Down the river, this is a very wide and deep ditch, which is covered with various kinds of vegetation. Hanzo was running wildly in the river. As long as he walked along the river, he would definitely be able to leave the Poison Jay forest. The bloody aura appeared in front of him. Luhan flashed over the river like a Yuhi-colored lightning, stopped in front of Hanzo, and stopped again. Kaden, fire style, fire burst. Hanzo started ninjutsu. The flames burst in front of him, surging into a sea of fire, blocking all the rivers dozens of meters wide. Kai. A Yuhi-colored lightning tore through the flames and rushed out of the flames that were enough to burn the rocks. Hanzo was forced to fight Luhan. The two fought thousands of moves in a row, from the river channel to the high ground on one side, and then from the high ground on the other side into the dense forest. Terrifying shock waves swept the surrounding area again and again. The forest was destroyed in pieces, and there were bursts of roars. Luhan finally found a perfect opportunity. Just when Hanzo was slightly pulled by the spider silk of the thickness of his fingers, Hanzo just slowed down a little, and he took a step forward and slashed with a long knife. Poochie. The blood splashed. Luhan wanted to cut Hanzo into 2 sections with this knife, but Hanzo still forcibly moved it at the critical moment, so this knife only brought an arm. Hanzo's left hand left his body and was thrown high. Ah, you! Hanzo shouted in pain. Opportunity. Hanzo, who lost an arm, will not only be unable to hand seal, but also the body will lack balance and coordination, and the overall strength will be greatly reduced. Luhan approached again and was about to slash Hanzo under the knife. At this moment, an extremely strange sense of crisis enveloped Luhan. A black shadow came out from the ground behind Luhan, and his thin arms embraced Luhan. Luhan had already sensed the abnormality behind him and avoided him. The shadow disappeared immediately, and Luhan looked out of the corner of his eye, but saw nothing. When he landed on the tree, another white figure appeared from the tree, and Luhan dodged again. He knew who was coming, not because he saw it, but because he opened the insight map. Luhan appeared on the big rock again. This time, finally, no one suddenly appeared to pounce on him. He also saw the person coming. Under the tree not far away, the white figure and the black figure merged into one person, absolutely. Hanzo has taken the opportunity to run far away, but Ju has become a roadblock. If Luhan went after Hanzo now, he still had a chance to catch up. Do you want to die? Luhan asked coldly. It was very strange. Even though he was named Yuhi, Luhan couldn't see his level. That is to say, he had no intention of directly hurting Luhan. The previous few, obviously, he wanted to cause trouble for Luhan and give Hanzo a chance to escape. Hanzo can't die yet. Ju's voice was gloomy. If he dies, this war will be over. Aren't you going to cooperate with us? So you can't kill him. So are you going to die for him? Luhan flicked the knife in his hand while paying attention to the map. Hanzo hasn't left the scope of the insight map. So long as he doesn't lose his trail, it's no problem to chase him at Luhan's speed. Why do you have to fight and kill? Black Zetsu grinned, his voice exaggerated. I know, the reason why you are so persistent in killing Hanzo is because he killed your good friend. Senluo told me, you guys best friends, right?